Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Epic drums. We were just talking about what our favourite like bread is and burger buns and stuff like that. Me and Drew like a seeded bun. We like a sesame bun, and just like seeds in bread in general. I can like seeded loaves
Seeds
and that.
nuts.
Bullwinkle, not so much of a fan.
No, I feel a little bit like a bird when I'm eating too many seeds. You know, like I know we've spoken on the pod before about like chia seeds and stuff like that, and adding that into like smoothies and stuff. And I always just feel a little bit, I don't know, it's the same reason I wouldn't add strawberries to a smoothie.
Does that mean that
just a bit like bitty?
When you eat meat, do you feel like a lion?
Maybe that's why I like eating meat, man.
Maybe.
I feel like a bug when I'm eating like salad.
Yeah, or like a tortoise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know when you just see someone chuck like a bit of lettuce to a tortoise or something. Yeah.
Underrated as well. Toasted seeds and nuts. Like,
man, yeah.
Oh yeah, like doing them like on a porridge
That's
or something, but just doing like a load of like toasting them and then putting a bit of sea salt with them as well, and then putting that all over the top of the porridge. Oh, giving you some of that.
That's one of them's little like little knacks. Like I remember, like even we'd have like meat and stuff. She'd it's more with like chicken than other meats, but like say you like cook up some chicken legs. She'd like just like fry up some seeds and then like sprinkle them on the meat just to give it a little bit of a crunch.
Extra texture.
And I think like
Crunch
nutty
texture.
meat tastes really nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice nutty meat. Well, it's like you have like nice stuffing in it, and obviously it's like not all stuffing, but a lot of stuffings have like nuts in and stuff. And I'm quite a fan of like a nutty stuffing because obviously you've got like your lemon and sage stuffing. You've got more like your nutty stuffings and there's all sorts of stuffings, isn't there? But I quite like a nutty stuffing personally.
I think a toaster is quite underrated.
What,
as an appliance.
My mum used to have a toaster. I do miss it, to be fair.
I do have a toaster in the house. I don't use it very often.
You got
I use my toaster pretty much every day, but just the idea of like toasting a bun. We're talking about buns, for example.
Oh yeah,
toasted bun's just infinitely better than a normal bun.
It is, but I've got a George Foreman, so it's better in a George Foreman to do that.
Yeah,
because then you get the grill marks.
Yeah, doesn't it do
That's
it
where
on
the
both
flavour
sides
is.
on a George Foreman as well, like top and bottom? So that is like a toasty machine.
And it's like halves obviously the like the cooking time than if you like did it say like in a frying pan as well.
Yeah. So do you do like steaks and stuff on there as well?
Yeah. I pretty much always cook my steaks in a George Foreman. I season them obviously with salt and pepper, but I don't put any oil or like anything on them at all. I just cook them raw. Just cook them very, very.
I feel like the goat appliance has to be an air fryer. So good. Everyone talks about air fryers, and man, I'm fully in on the hype. So good. I use it for like everything.
I'm not.
I use it as like rather than a microwave because I don't really like using microwaves that much because they make everything like real mushy. They don't. But when you heat something up with an air fryer, it heats it more up like an oven, like where it's like crispy on the outside still. So you can say you got like a like they sell these amazing pies on the market, and I can just put a pie in for like 11 minutes into the air fryer, and it is cooked to like perfection because it's already cooked anyway. So you just kind of heat it up. But it cooks it like I suppose you could do the same in the oven as well. But
this is what I was going to say because you said like you could do that in the oven as well. So my issue with air fryers is they tend to be quite large, right? If say like you already have like an oven, say you've got a microwave, you've got a toaster, right? There's only so many appliances you want in your kitchen, and there's nothing like I like appliances that do almost more of like a specific thing. So like you got like a good George Foreman grill. It's all in the name, isn't it? It's a grill. You got a toaster, so if somebody wants to make some toast quickly,
your KitchenAid, mix up some.
Exactly, Em's got a nice KitchenAid. But I just for me, like we used to have an air fryer, and we've got rid of it now because we used it a couple of times. I didn't really feel like anything I cooked in the air fryer was like nicer than anything I had in the oven, and it wasn't like healthier. Really, there was nothing we were doing to it that was making it healthier than if we had it in the oven. Do you know what I mean? We found ways to make things really healthy without needing to put loads of crap on it in the oven anyway. So, I don't know. I wasn't particularly. I didn't get on the hype train.
Fair enough.
I think it's really good for maybe that people that like aren't so into cooking and maybe don't have as much experience cooking, and it's probably easy to just chuck everything in an air fryer.
Yeah, and I quite like the factor of as well. Like, I don't know if I chuck stuff in the oven. I'm quite liable to leaving it in there for 2 minutes too long or 2 minutes too little. And it comes out a bit undercooked or a bit overcooked. With an air fryer, you choose the time, choose the temperature. You can put it on bacon. You can put it on all these different modes. It's good for me, man.
Yeah, fair play, man.
My one that I do, like, I can't do as good anywhere else apart from the air fryer is when I do chips, and basically like cut them all up with like loads of olive oil and like paprika and salt, like smoked paprika and salt, like proper covered. Put them in the air fryer 20 minutes and then give them a shake like halfway through that. Like they come out so crispy and like, you know, but I wouldn't want to deep fry them. And if I do that in the oven, they're just not quite as crispy. They go more like when you do like roasted vegetables or something, and they're a bit soft as well, like, you know, but like for some reason doing those chips just like that in the air fryer, 20 minutes, just like boom, like they're really like crunchy in that. So yeah,
nice, man.
That's my only one I use it for, really. And that
mainly it's like for like wedges and chips.
Yeah, chips and pies. That and sometimes
chips
some
and
carrots.
pies.
Like for like doing, you know, if you're
like
doing a roast
carrot.
dinner and you've got like we've only got a single oven rather than like a big double oven. So if I filled up the whole oven with just roast dinner stuff, I can do like the carrots in the air fryer, and they come out pretty nice as well. Like,
do you do them like roast style, like bit of oil and a bit of
yeah, bit of oil.
Yeah, it's got to be done, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's just it's like an extra, if you've got a small kitchen, like an extra bit of thing that you can do some oveny stuff in as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can completely see how, say, if you had like a small oven or something like that, why suddenly an air fryer would then become an advantage. But if you've got like a really big oven, and other appliances around it, almost like it's almost like annoying when things
gets in the way.
Do you know what I mean? And I'd say we just suddenly realised that it'd been like over a year since we used it, and then it was just like, right, we need to freaking either like give that to someone or just take it down to the tip. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just this big lump that's in the way, and you know, it's so annoying having like clutter in your house, innit? You know?
My nan hasn't even got an oven at her place. Like she uses she got her kitchen done, and because it's like small kitchen, she never got a full oven, and she always uses like this halogen heater. Have you ever seen them? It's like a dome, and it's circular, and it's like glass. It's like a big glass thing, and it's called a halogen heater, but like
I've heard of halogen heaters for actually like just heating.
Yeah, I've got one in my room to like heat it. The idea of that being like a cooking appliance is crazy.
Yeah, and she uses that all the time, and it's got some layers in it, so it's like this weird like glass oven thing.
That's freaking nuts, man! I didn't even know you could get them. I remember we went for a stage where our old oven broke, and then before we got our new oven installed, we went through like a little stage of literally just like having like a little camping stove like out on the side in the kitchen. But that was almost like quite fun in a way. It almost like quite like funny.
Back
like
to basics.
Yeah, there was like this little stage of about a week where I just like, you know, popped my little can of gas in, you know, like shut up, I'm just like frying up steaks and that like in my kitchen, but on my little camping stove. Oh man, yeah, it's
I'd love to go camping.
Yeah.
Did you guys go camping quite a lot as kids?
Not like loads, but I mean, obviously, went camping sometimes.
Yeah, we had tent, like we'd go out in the caravan all the time, like as a kid, like when I lived up north and stuff. But before we had a caravan, like we just went in tents, and it's like hilarious thinking of it, like me and my two sisters and my mum and dad, just like two separate little tents, like little igloo tents, and
I mean, obviously your family went through like a stage almost like every year they'd go down to Tirana, didn't they?
Oh yeah, we did that in tents sometimes. Yeah, like
because that was like a big like set with like almost like 3 different sections, and then like there was a couple of times when I went down with you, and I just like stayed in the section with you.
We had our own
like,
pods.
Yeah, and then like your mum would have one, and then like your sisters would have one or whatever.
I love that, man. It
was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun camping if the weather's all right, even if it's not all right. You know, as long as it doesn't get like really wet in there.
As long as it's not like as long as you got like a good tent and it's not like you're literally like lying in a puddle. That's when it's like horrible.
Last time I went camping, I set my camp up on like an anthill. And I didn't realise it. And man, like there must have been like a crack in the door. I would like obviously I wasn't in the tent all day. So like out doing activities, whether you're like swimming or like fishing. Man, I was like lying in bed in like a little sleeping bag, and I could just felt so itchy. I was like, "What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on?"
Mate,
obviously in pitch black. And then I lit this little lantern and just saw like thousands of these ants like swimming over me and be like, "Oh!"
Mate, I bet that was horrible, man.
It was pretty grim.
That sounds pretty horrible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's one of those things that you got to be like really careful, like where you pitch your tent.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson now, man.
Yeah, definitely, and like don't do it on anything like animal related. Don't do it on like a bog accidentally. Do you know what I mean? Because like things like that can be like deceiving as well. Do you know what I mean? Just like look at like a grassy field, but it could be like really boggy. It's like, yeah, nice firm ground and all the rest of it. Yeah, I need to like sort out. I want to do like a nice little sort of Dartmoor, little wild camp Dartmoor thing. You know, when you just go like hiking all day, and then because in Dartmoor you're allowed to, aren't you? It's like
they changed the rules
in England. You're allowed to.
That's well cool.
So I just want to almost like go hiking, and then because the thing is with like camping, what I really don't like is people that like don't really like spend like any time outdoors or in nature, if you know what I mean. Like they don't go like hiking or have any outdoorsy hobbies, but like every summer they'll drive into a freaking campsite, pay to go inside, and they'll literally drive to their spot and then like pitch a tent or whatever, or not even that, sometimes just like sleep in their van, but they'll just like suddenly, you know, like put like a little bivvy up or whatever, and just like, you know, get their little camping stove out and like and do some bacon and that, and then they're like, back to nature, and I'm like, mate, that is not back to nature. That to me, that's like really boring.
If it's got a clubhouse and stuff, and just
yeah. And also, there's you can guarantee as well. Well, you can't guarantee, but there's always the real big risk that there's going to be like some really noisy, annoying people next to you, like playing D&B all night, and you just be in your tent like, this is like, to me, that is not.
Yeah, you want to get out into the wild.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool.
You know, you want to just almost like hike all day until the sun starts going down, pitch a tent, set, you know, like get a fire going, you know, cook up some freaking salted steaks that you've got in your backpack, you know, ready to freaking cook up, you know, and whatever else you've got with it, and then eat dinner, you know, watch the sun go down, you know, sort of relax, you know, and you know, relax by the fire, you know, all of that, you know, like proper, just almost like really relaxing, proper back to nature.
I always love when you see people that do the fire watch out in like the Appalachians in America.
Appalachians.
Yeah, the Appalachians. Sorry, yeah. And it looks so cool. Like
Mate,
they'll go and stay
agree.
in like a fire watch.
Do you know what he's on about?
No.
You know they've got those massive. They're called like their fire towers. And they're like massive watchtowers in the middle of, they have them in like lots of big national forests in America. And they're literally, they're ridiculously tall towers, and you can get a job as like a watchman in these fire towers. And your job basically is it's like this massive thing, and there's like just one room at the top, and it's got like a little radio and a bed and a chair and a desk, and you're like looking out for forest fires, and that's primarily the job, but also like anything else that would be like suspicious,
like if there was like people messing around with fireworks,
or like, you know, even like, you know, suspected, you know, somebody's been injured or something like that, and then you've got like a little radio where you can just like, you know, you can communicate with the other towers. There's like a tower every like you know, like however many miles or whatever. And you could just like, but I always think like, mate, I'd love that job.
Yeah,
if I lived to someone like that, I'd love that job.
Apart from anything else, you're just completely isolated. Like the closest person to you is that next like mountain tower. Sorry, over on the next mountain, and then you wouldn't see anyone else, and you could like maybe communicate with them every now and again. But apart from that, you're just completely in nature, completely isolated, fending for yourself.
Yeah, like if you're
cool.
If you're the sort of person that doesn't mind spending time on your own or enjoy spending time on your own, like imagine how relaxing that would be in the middle of some of the most beautiful. Yeah, because like in North America, obviously, they've got some of the best like nature on the planet. So imagine that. Imagine being in the middle of the Appalachians or in the middle of like Montana or something like that.
Oh man, I need to get over there at some point. It's like
me too.
It's pulling so much more. Just like I don't know whether it's everything that's happening in the world and that as well, but I'm like, I just want to go over there for some reason and like experience what it's like and the nature and everything.
Do you know what? I mean, I don't know if she actually has told me, and I just like forgot. But like Em was saying to me the other day that my mum's apparently going to like Tennessee in a couple of months, and that's obviously where like Brenna and everyone are. And I was suddenly thinking like, I might be like with my mum. I might just be like, do you mind if I come with you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like. I mean, she's going to meet up with her friends over there, so I wouldn't even want to like stay at the same place. Do you know what I mean? Let her go and stay with her friends. But if I just like found somewhere like reasonably priced but still nice, like nearby to where she was, and then it would make me feel good as well, because I'd almost feel like I was her security guard, like through the airport and everything like that, and making sure she was getting everywhere safe. But then at the same time, you know what I mean? Like go and maybe like, you know, message Brenner and some of the other people we've chatted to and be like, yo, do you want to like hang out, or have you got any gigs on? I'll come to a gig and that, you know.
Yeah,
that'd be freaking sick. That'd be awesome. For that, you know.
See what Tennessee's like. I'd love to go there. It looks insane.
That's where Theo lives now as well, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh no, or is it? No, I think I think he does. Yeah, no, I got confused for a second because I think he was born in Louisiana. I think he was born in Louisiana, and then I think he moved to California, like a lot of the comedians did, like Joe obviously, and a lot of the other ones. But then I think when around the same time as, because California's just basically screwed, isn't it? California's so corrupt and mental. Around the same time that Joe moved to Texas because he just had enough of California, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that Theo moved to Tennessee. Yeah, so you've got like people like Theo Von, Brennan McMillan, Angela Autumn.
Yeah, man.
So many freaking cool people that live in, like Quinton Rampage Jackson lives in Tennessee. You know, like old MMA fighter that I used to freaking love back in the day. Like, yeah, he's so funny, man. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool people in Tennessee, and obviously it's just that southern, you know, lifestyle, y'all, like smoke meats and you know, be friendly to everyone, you know.
That's definitely the side
guitar and your banjo.
Yeah, that would be amazing to go to. Is that they're the ones that are really calling to me. Those like southern states and that. You know.
Me too. I'm not really interested in going to like New York or California or anything.
Me neither.
What I want to go is to like Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas. Yeah, like, to me that's like that.
And then like some of North America, like like the Montana ones and stuff as well. Like, that'd be amazing to see.
Minnesota, Montana.
Yeah,
go see Dr. Mouse.
Lush.
Yeah.
Does Tennessee have any of the national parks?
No, I don't think so. But it's got like you know, good nature.
It's more dry, is it? Or is it? I don't know.
It's not. It's not. I don't think it's like particularly dry. It's like sort of southeast, isn't it? You've got so it's like not too far from the east coast of the US, but it's like it's bordered with. Let me think. It's bordered with, I think, South Carolina. And I think maybe North Carolina as well, and Georgia to the east.
Atlanta.
So if you think about it, so like you got Tennessee. If you're looking at the map, you've got like Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then I think to the southwest is Texas. I think that's right. Are you looking it up, Drew?
Yeah.
Look it up, and then you'll be able to clarify. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah, Atlanta's below it. Arkansas on the left of it. Dallas on the left.
Oh yeah, so is Texas to the southwest? Yeah, of it.
Northeast, south. Yeah, southwest. Yeah. Like below.
Yeah, and
then
then you've got Georgia to the southeast. Yeah, and then South Carolina, is it to the east?
To the east, North Carolina.
Oh right, so South Carolina is also like southeast.
Yeah, and then Washington, like
northeast,
yeah, and Cincinnati north, St. Louis northwest,
right,
and Arkansas west.
Is that? I think St. Louis is in Missouri, isn't it? Is that Missouri?
St. Louis,
yes, Missouri.
Yes, Missouri's right next to it. Yeah, Arkansas, Mississippi right below it, Alabama right below it.
Mississippi Queen. Yeah, man. See, this is where it's all about, man. Because also you've got Alabama, you've got like Leonard Skinner's Heritage,
Louisiana below
all
Alabama.
Those states. I mean, you're talking about the people you're talking about from here. In Texas, you've obviously got like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels.
Hell yeah.
Frick it, all of them lot. I'm pretty sure that Pat Mack lives in South Carolina. You've got people like Pat Mack in South Carolina. Alabama is like home of frickin' Leonard Skinner. Then, you know, Georgia, like Bill Goldberg, still got that, you know, that Southern hospitality, y'all. JR, good old JR Jim Ross is from Georgia.
My God!
Actually, wait a minute, is he? Oh, no, or is he from... Got a very
Oklahoma?
Distinct
voice.
Or is he from Oklahoma?
Accent. I'm not too sure.
I can't remember. But then, yeah, and then you've obviously got Tennessee. You know, you've obviously got like, and Louisiana. You've got like sort of like Theo, Brenner, like all of them lot. Obviously, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash lived in Tennessee. Elvis lived in Tennessee. Mate, these states are where it's all about. These are like the cool frickin' states that are worth going to, man.
Kentucky, right above it.
Kentucky, that's where Brennan was born. And obviously the home of Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, say no more. The Colonel's secret recipe.
I just imagine having proper smoked barbecue in America, like what that would actually be like. That'd be like insane.
I like just the idea of just going there, wearing my cowboy hat the whole time. You know,
doing the accent,
buying myself like a real cool belt buckle while I'm over there. You know, and just eating smoked meats, going to bars,
driving a big
to all the
V8 truck.
Yeah, like renting out like a big frickin' like Chevy truck or Dodge truck or Ford truck. Driving around, eating some smoked meats, finding like a bar with some cool like, you know, Townes Van Zandt style music on and like Brenner style music on, and just being like, man, I would love.
You can see why Americans don't really leave their country very often, can't you?
They got so much options.
There's so much going on. The fact you can go to like places like that, and then you could also go to like a Florida Keys
And then
which
you
is
can go
essentially being like in the Caribbean.
And then you could go like to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
All the red rocks and everything. And then you could just like go to like Florida, where it's essentially like the Caribbean, but it's still in the US.
Or like New York, which is like a massive city. There's so much variation within that one country.
And all of those northern states are just like real snowy and mountainous and beautiful. You know, like Minnesota and all the ones that are like border, like New England, the ones that are like actually border Canada are pretty much just like Canada. Or you could fly to Alaska, which is just basically like, not only is it the biggest state in America, it's like thousands of miles of just like wilderness and like snowy mountains and forests and massive beautiful lakes and
or even
bears
go to like Hawaii
and moose. Yeah, the variety. I mean, people give Americans a lot of stick, don't they, for being like quite insular minded and not really, and like a lot of Americans don't leave the States, but yeah, to be fair,
they've got like their own mini world.
They almost do.
A lot of people haven't even been to the other states in America, like all the different states. Remember when we were talking?
I think that's mental. Mental. Alan Thrill.
What's Angela Autumn, and and she was like saying that she wants to go on a big like road trip, because we were like, it'd be so cool to see the different states. And I remember she'd been to like a few, but she hadn't been to many when we were talking to her. And I was like, you got so many different options over there, and each one of them's got their own like microclimate of like culture and just the way that people are and stuff. Like,
doesn't surprise me though, because it's like us saying, it's like them saying, oh, why have like the United Kingdom not been to every place in Europe? You know,
not really,
like every country. I almost see America, like all the different states, as their own countries.
Yeah, but obviously Europe are different countries though. That's, do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, but it's still the same amount of size.
Oh right, yeah. Just
like, so you're still to go to all of the different states. You're still covering the same amount of distance as you would to go.
That's
to all
what an American guy said to me when I was in Costa Rica, and I thought it was really weird when he said it to me as well. Like, because they are like so. It's
I think about
it
different. That's the thing. I think I'd categorize it almost differently.
Because he was like, "You're so central over there, aren't you, man? Like you can be like, you know, have you been to all the places?" Because I asked him like where he'd been in America, and he was like, and he's like, "So where have you been in Europe, man? Like you got so many places to visit over there and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been like France and that a little bit."
To be fair, I mean, surely you've been to quite a few. I mean, you've obviously been to the Czech Republic. I mean, you've been to France. I mean, where else have you been in Europe? You've been to Spain?
Spain, yeah, Madrid.
Oh yeah, you've obviously you went with Calum, didn't you? Have you been to Italy before?
Been Sardinia recently, like last.
Yep, so that's Italy. That's Italy.
So not
have you been to Greece?
Italy. Yeah, actually, I have. Went to Kos in Greece when I was like a kid, like with my parents.
Well, there you go. You've already been to like 5 of the best places in Europe.
I've never been Malta though. I really want to go Malta.
Yeah, Malta's cool, man.
Yeah, like that. With like a lot of family from there and stuff as well. It'd be nice to like visit them and get a feel for what that's like over there. Never been Turkey.
No, I haven't either. But like, I always
Josh
like
likes Turkey, didn't he?
Yeah.
We went to Turkey a lot as kids.
Yeah,
I think I've been to Turkey like 7 or 8 times.
I remember like your family would almost like always go to like Spain or Turkey. It seemed.
Yeah, Turkey was the one, man. It was always like we'd go to like a place called Fethiye in Turkey, which had like the most beautiful sunset. The people were like so nice over there.
Nice.
Like, but I've never been to like Istanbul or anything like that. That's somewhere where I'd like to go.
Istanbul, land of turban, spice and carpet. This is the tale of Mr. Dude.
Constantinople, isn't it? Istanbul.
Well, it was originally, in the Byzantine Empire,
the
Eastern
Croatia
Roman
as
Empire.
well.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, see, I've never been to Croatia.
Croatia, that was alright, apart from the real grumpy man who spoilt my holiday.
Oh man, I remember you telling me about that. You
the
said
guy
that they
with
were
the
almost
fish.
a bit grumpy, weren't they?
Yeah, just that real Eastern European, like kind of like hard faced, like, you know, like I didn't like that so much. Like I feel like we are friends. Like I was saying to this Meg the other day when we were walking the dog, like we were like, oh, it's so nice to just walk past people when you're walking a dog, and they're just like, hello. Oh, hiya, you're right, and it's just like real friendly interaction that you have. Like, there's something special about that. Like and I think we're quite like that in the UK as people. We're quite like it, especially like when you're out more in nature,
in the rural
and stuff
places.
like that.
I think you are in the rural places. Obviously, London is notorious for being really rude. London's a very rude place.
I remember,
I think like the bigger the cities you're in,
the less
same
it
thing
is
in America.
like that.
Like New York is people apparently are quite rude, but I think when you go to more rural places,
And then there was a
I
guy
was
with his
die
fish.
in Berlin once.
You thought you were going to die in Berlin?
I thought I was going to die in Berlin by a bunch of rude people.
Rude Germans.
I went to this Soviet bar, which was probably...
They had a Soviet bar?
Oh, was this? I think
it was like Soviet?
Yeah, I think it was Berlin.
That seems almost a bit inappropriate.
It was definitely a Soviet bar. I'm just trying to think if it was a different country. Maybe it was Budapest, actually. Maybe it was Budapest.
Right.
I can't quite. It's somewhere in Europe.
It was one of the. It was one of the Bs.
It was one of the Bs. It was one of the Bs. Maybe it could have even been Bucharest. I'm not even sure.
Right.
I think it was probably Berlin. But I went to this. It was called like the Red Bar, and it looked really cool on like Google and everything. I was like, that looks pretty dope. I'm gonna go in there. It had like all the Stalin and stuff on like paintings of him and like.
That's mental.
It was like a proper like Soviet bar, but I was a bit like, that's just the theme, And I went in. And like got a rum and coke and sat down at a spot, and then a guy just like came up and got like right in my face and just gave me like the most evil like face that I've ever. He'd like,
well, he just came up to you just to like dog you out.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Whoa, you all right, man?" He was like, and then just like walked off, and then like went and sat in this little group in the corner, and I was like looking over like, oh, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here for very long. Because I was like on the outskirts of like the city as well, being like, I'm just going to down this. I think I just downed the drink and then
that sounds like a bit like a Jez from Peep Show scenario.
Man, I remember, there was definitely a point where he was like coming up to me. I was like, oh god, I think I must have taken his seat or something.
Oh, right.
Without knowing, like maybe he'd gone to the bathroom and then like I turned up and didn't, obviously didn't know.
You didn't realise, did you?
No, but I thought he was going to kill me.
That's mad, dude. That's mad.
It's definitely like a lot of like brutal areas in like the outskirts of these cities that I've been to.
Oh, I think there are anywhere, aren't they? Like they say, don't they? There's so many like really dangerous places now. Like if you go down the wrong street or something in the UK, like do you know what I mean? Especially in like the big cities, There was a freaking 16-year-old lad had got freaking shot next to a park in London the other day. Do you hear that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because like London's obviously like known for knife crime, but I was like, bloody hell, they're up in the game.
Yeah, how the hell? See, with stuff like that, I always just think, how the hell are they getting guns?
Black market, man.
It's crazy though. Like, it's crazy that just exists.
Yeah,
that it's like actually doable to get a gun in this country.
I know somebody that used to be. He didn't get one, but he used to have the ability to get a gun through the black market if he wanted to.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's even
say
getting
no
the
more on that
licenses. I was surprised, like speaking to some people here, because there's obviously like loads of land here and deer and stuff. Like a lot of people like hunt deer and stuff, and I find it really interesting. I want to do it soon. And there's this guy I've met, and he does pigeon shooting and clay pigeon shooting and that, but he's just about to rent a load of land where they've got loads of deers, and he's like, I'll take you hunting like there because I'm going to be doing that soon. I was like, that'd be awesome. But yeah, they can get licenses for like proper rifles, and I thought in the UK it was mostly just shotguns. Like if you were going to go hunting, it'd be shotguns, but it's not. You can get full powered like rifles for like hunting deer and like those kind of guns as well. I'm like, that's pretty
there's
cool.
like certain criteria. I think you have to join like a. I think to be able to do it, don't you have to join like a gun club?
I don't know if with these ones it wasn't a club. It was more like you have to prove that you have access to land and a need for the weapon. So like if you're hunting and stuff. But so what this guy was telling me. But I think the shotgun guns maybe a gun club or something. I don't know. But these rifles,
I thought you had to be part of a club, but I'm certainly no expert on it. But I know that basically, like obviously, there's little things like that you have to do like a background.
Check.
They'll do like a background check. I thought that you had to be part of a club, but maybe that's only for certain guns. I'm not sure. Basically there has to be like a reason why you have it.
Is there anywhere here that you could go and hunt for food and like camp out in the wild?
Like if you have access to land, that's the thing, because most land is in the UK.
You can't do it on not private
by
land.
Someone.
Yeah, and there's no really free land, is there? Like there's no like it's either national trust and like or like government owned
or like
it's
farmers' land.
Yeah. And like and that's where a lot of hunters do it. It's more the private lands of like farmers.
So you could make a deal. You could make a deal. Say you were somewhere rural, like the Quantocks. There are literally people on the Quantocks that do this. So you could make a deal with some old farmer who had like 100 acres of land, maybe not 100 acres of land, loads of land on the Quantocks. And there might be some big old stags that were damaging his property, and they were obviously affecting his like money. He had to repair these things. Maybe they were damaging barriers, and as a result, his sheep were escaping. These are all things that are causing the man money and stress. So then he could make a deal, say, with a hunter, somebody that was interested in hunting, and he could say, right, you can hunt on my land as long as you only hunt, say, like the big old male stags. Right. And they'd say, okay, thank you very much. They'd kill that year. They would kill 2 big old male stags. That was the ones that were causing the damage. the hunter would get like a freezer full of venison for the winter for his, feed his entire family for the year. Essentially, 2 massive stags. You've got to bear in mind that'd be so much meat. You can make sausages out of it, different steaks, all the different cuts you obviously use for different types of meat. Bacon even you can make out of it, and then he's sorted. The farmer's happy. You're happy. Boom. But obviously there has to be that agreement in place.
I won't do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
He's so cool.
Oh, it would be so cool, wouldn't it? Living like frickin' Steve Ranella and frickin' Joe Rogan and all them lot. Legends.
Yeah. Fresh meat.
Fresh meat, guys. Fresh meat.
Fresh game.
Don't you think it's hilarious how many different slang terms there are for the penis?
Down.
Yeah, there have been many terms for the schlong over the years, haven't there? The one-eyed monster.
One-eyed monster.
Wiener's a great one, isn't it?
Wiener is a great one.
Pork sword. Pecker. Pecker's a good one. Yeah. Meat stick. And one of my favourites, wang. Wang is a word. Yeah. Wang. But I was looking into the other day slang terms throughout the years for willies that have now gone out of fashion. Okay. But so I've just sort of like written down a load starting from 1602 in the UK right up to modern day. Some of them are hilarious as well. Some of them it's almost like a bit of a shame that they've gone out of fashion.
We got to bring them back, man.
We're bringing them back. Yeah.
We have, man. But I think like slang is such a funny thing, isn't it? Isn't it funny how like slang almost like every couple of generations will have like their own slang, and then like a new generation will suddenly come up with new slang, but the older generation won't know what it is, and then do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like it's weird, isn't it? Anyway, going back to 1602. In 1602 in the UK, a common slang term for a willy was a kicky wicky.
A kicky wicky.
Get out your kicky wicky. In 1613, there's the first recorded evidence of the term long plum. I love that one because it does sort of look like a long plum, doesn't it? It does. In 1656, there's the first reference to the bold pate friar, which is quite a funny one. In 1720 is the first reference to the silent flute, which is just freaking hilarious.
That one's good.
It's just so freaking funny, isn't it? Oh man, this is a really funny one. In 1811, there's a written reference to what's known as the gaying instrument. Which makes me wonder, is it because it makes you happy, or is it because someone's been a bit gay? Either way, it's quite a funny, Oh, this next one's almost like a bit metal. This sounds like the name for like a death metal band. In 1888. There's reference to somebody describing penises as a liver disturber.
Damn.
The liver disturber. Liver disturber sounds like a death metal band, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This next track is called Liver Disturber.
Is it because where your liver is, like on the lower half?
Yeah, I guess like you're like poking the lady's liver. I guess,
The liver disturber.
I like this one. This is quite in contrast. This next one, in 1890, just 2 years later. There's reference to someone describing willies as the master of ceremonies, which I quite like. I quite like the idea that you're giving your penis that much respect.
Yeah,
it always sounds
grand title.
Sounds like noble, ready for
the
doesn't
master of cemeteries. What was it? Ceremonies.
Hey babe, do you fancying a bit of a alone time tonight? Let me just have a quick conversation with the master of ceremonies, and I'll get back to you. No. In another one from 1890 is Father Confessor. Father Confessor. It always sounds like the Pope or something. You know what I mean? In 1896, there's reference to the quim stick.
Get out your quim stick. What is a quim?
I don't know. Isn't that like? I don't know. For some reason, I thought that I thought that maybe like a quim was like a slang for like a woman's, vagina.
Oh yeah,
a woman's,
A woman, vulgar slang, British.
I mean, that
genitals.
would make sense. Yeah,
so like you're the quim stick. If they have the quim, you have the quim stick. The stick that services the quim.
Quim king.
Yeah. The master of ceremonies. In 1927, there's the first reference to someone describing penises as a patootie. Which is funny. That's almost like almost like a little cute pet name.
Yeah, cutie patootie.
Oh man, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to tend to my patootie.
My tutti frutti patootie.
There's the term in there, cutie patootie. Whereas that, I swear, like nowadays, that's more like evolved into like if somebody was a cute, you describe them as like a cutie patootie. But I wonder if that comes from like people don't realise, but that comes from. So you're essentially calling someone a cute little penis, which is a hilarious concept.
That makes it even better.
In 1927, there's written evidence of somebody describing their penis as ambassador. The ambassador.
Meet
I
the
like
ambassador.
Yeah, that's quite good, isn't it? Yeah, well, we got another.
Senate.
We've got another death metal one up next. In 1935, apparently it became common for a while to describe in sort of lower class circles to describe a penis as a kidney buster.
Ooh.
That's quite brutal, isn't it? That's quite brutal.
Stepped up from disturbance.
Yes,
It's gone to the next level.
Yeah, busting it.
Yeah.
Actually, just busting it open. In 1935, same year. Apparently, it became common to call a penis a dingle doodle. A dingle doodle.
The old dingle doodle.
That sounds quite Scottish, I can imagine. Hey, get your dingle doodle out.
Quite a long name, isn't it? It's like it's not even like a shortened little thing. It's like dingle doodle.
This next one sounds real Scottish as well. In 1951, apparently for a while it became common slang to refer to the penis as a ding Wallace.
Ding Wallace.
Ding Wallace.
Hey, but Ding Wallace is itchy. So, yeah. In 1963, slang for penis for a while was, snorker. The
old
I
snorker.
can't help but just imagine them in different accents now that we started doing accents. I'm imagining them all in like Australian accent.
Yeah.
Which bloody snorker out.
I bet if you like looked it up, there'd be like some
Ding Wallace.
specific ones to Australia as well. Because Aussies love slang, don't they?
Yeah,
They
man.
love their bit of
Yeah.
slang. It's one of the things I like about Aussies. In 1975, the term corned beef torpedo became quite common for a while. I feel like I've heard that one before. I feel like now that obviously we know people that would obviously have been, my old man would have been 15 in 1970. I feel like I've definitely heard corned beef torpedo used. I feel like we're just old enough to have like heard that one. And then some of the more, this brings us up pretty much to modern day. Some of the more comical ones from the last sort of like 30, 40 years are meat stick, meat rod, meat scepter, pecker, wang, as I said, pork sword, wiener, one-eyed monster, and you can go on.
We should come up with our own one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Aussie one is a wombat as well, apparently.
A wombat? That is the most Aussie friggin'
Get your wombat out.
Wombat.
Yeah. Oh, mate, what, you ashamed of your wombat? Oh, mate, that's such like an
That's
Aussie
so
thing,
good.
isn't it? Wombat. Yeah, I mean, I'd be quite keen on coming up with one. And let's brainstorm some ideas.
The box breaker.
The box breaker.
The box breaker for Pandora's box.
Right, yep, the box breaker. Okay, right, okay. I like how the idea that people would have Pandora's box themed sex and they would refer to, the lady garden as Pandora's box and then you'd have the box breaker.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like that.
You know how you can get like different themed Monopoly?
Mm.
But Pandora's box, we'd have like themed sexual activity. Yeah.
The lockpick.
The lockpick. Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that.
The
That's a
twig.
good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I think there's real funny like little terms, isn't there? Like little slang. Like, when you hear somebody referring to it as like a Cumberland, I think it's real funny. Like a Cumberland. Yeah, chipolata. That's your one, too, isn't it? Chipolata. You always refer to your penis as a chipolata. Cumberland is a real comical one.
That's very fun.
I'm just trying to think, like just brainstorming. You call it like the elephant's trunk.
Yeah.
Your trunk.
Yeah. Your rhino horn.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sort of like getting,
Spit on
On, like,
theme
good-
as well.
good animal themes, your boa constrictor. Imagine if you could like move it around, do like a snake, strangle someone to death with it, like a monkey's tail.
You can like grip things and stuff.
Yeah, you see like a monkey hanging from its tail or something. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
It was mad seeing a spider monkey in real life, and the end of its tail is like the inside of a finger, like actually got like the
little kinks.
Yeah,
the
kinks
bones or whatever.
and like how you've got even on your finger these bits here, like the like where you can see your fingerprint and stuff, and they've got that, and almost like calluses and that. Like it's like the inside of a hand, but just one bit on the end of the tail.
That's
it's
pretty
like,
cool, isn't
yeah.
it?
And they can
crazy.
fully like do stuff like this. Like when it was wrapped around my neck and that, it's like. You know what I mean? They'll like grip on with it and then like give you a little tickle and that as well. So,
oh baby, I mean you can definitely see why that would come in handy. It's almost like having like an extra arm.
Appendage, yeah.
I wish we still had tails,
like Saiyans in Dragon Ball Z.
So
like you probably don't know, Drew,
once.
but like in the Saiyan, I actually did as well. It's quite a common thing apparently. But just you probably don't know, Drew, but in Dragon Ball Z, the Saiyans, even though they basically look like humans, they're born with like monkey tails.
Oh right. Oh cool.
Yeah. They wear them like a belt.
Yeah, they wear them like a belt around their waist when they're not using them. The reason like a lot of people don't know that unless they're really big Dragon Ball Z fans is because like Goku and Vegeta had theirs like cut off, didn't they? Yeah, theirs cut off.
Otherwise they turn into like a big monkey.
Azaru.
Full moon.
So basically they have the ability to turn into what's called Azaru Saiyans as long as they have their tails, and you basically turn into like this like giant like were-gorilla. It's like it's like the best sort of like I guess like the best description of it.
So like Super Saiyan, is that like in reference to them as well?
So Saiyans can become Super Saiyan, but they're also born with the ability to go Azaru. So if I think it's like on the full moon, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on a full moon, a Saiyan with a tail
full Azaru.
and they basically become like basically turn into like King Kong essentially. Nice. They turn into like massive apes, but when they turn into it, they often like lose their. Saiyans aren't very like unless you're like a really powerful Saiyan, you like lose your inhibitions, so you're not in control, so you become very destructive and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's why Goku had his cut off because
taken by primal urges.
Yeah, because Goku grew up on Earth, he didn't really have anyone that knew what was going on, so Goku became Azaru a couple times and like wrecked shit. So they cut off his tail.
It'd be so cool if like that could happen. Yeah, like do you know what I mean?
Because obviously we are apes, aren't we? We're great apes.
Yeah, I mean, I did turn into a monkey in an ayahuasca ceremony once. Like I fully transmorphed myself into a monkey, and it was
quite monkeyish in general.
I reckon I've got monkey energy deep in the line. I mean, everyone has obviously like to an extent,
but
I've got a connection to. I've got a connection to the monkey tribe, and like.
Do you reckon it's because you lived in Hartlepool for a while?
Mate, I have no idea.
Do you reckon when you lived in Hartlepool, you became possessed by the spirit of the monkey?
The hung monkey.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were sort of fulfilling something when you turned into a monkey?
No, I was just like I was literally sitting cross-legged and like kind of rocking back and forth, and in the motion, like can you imagine like a monkey like rocking like, and it was like I turned into that, and then I realized I was like it's like this energy of this monkey, and I just became that, and then kind of realized what was happening, and it flowed into something else. But it was just like it's weird stuff like that. Like you're almost getting a vibe of what it'd be like to be that animal, or to be like. Mixing with nature, it was just like it was quite fleeting. It wasn't like I was like a monkey for like an hour or something. It was just like a fleeting experience within it. But it was.
Was it more like a traditional monkey, or did you feel like a were monkey?
I felt like
part
a traditional,
man, part monkey.
Traditional like chimp. Yeah.
So a bit like in the Robbie Williams movie.
Yeah. He started singing some Robbie Williams tracks in between.
Just in the middle of the ceremony.
You know what we're on about, Drew.
You let me entertain you.
You know about the Robbie Williams movie?
With
like the chimp, yeah? That's so funny, isn't it? That's so funny.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, man, yeah. Yeah, me too. I want to watch it, especially considering I feel quite bad for the whole like production team and Robbie, because apparently it's like a massive flop.
Poor Robbie, man.
But then again, apparently it's like the majority of it is because Robbie like insisted on having it himself portrayed as a CGI chimp, which obviously like raised the cost of the movie loads compared to if they just got actors.
Yeah.
But because obviously as a result they had to have like intricate CGI in every single scene.
Yeah.
As opposed to if they just got humans.
And I bet you can still really tell it as well. Like you can tell the CGI, can't you? And that always puts me off a bit. Like even no matter how good it is. To know that it's actual CGI, like I hate like, even when they do it with like lions or like actual like real animals, but they obviously can't do it with a real lion.
With every scene.
Yeah, but it just always I'm like, I can still tell,
Practical effects, man. All like the 80s and 90s horror movies, and then you obviously think of like Lord of the Rings, the first, the original.
So much better.
All the practical effects. Yeah, of course, it like takes more time, but I think it's so much more beneficial.
So much more realistic, it seems. So.
Oh yeah. And you think of like some of the really good horror movies. Like, do you remember that werewolf movie, like Dog Soldiers, where it was like those soldiers are like in the Scottish.
Oh yes.
and they get attacked by that group of werewolves. Like that, the practical effects in that are great because it's just men on almost like on like stilts wearing like these mental werewolf costumes, but they look so good.
Yeah.
I mean, that could give like a little kid nightmares, man.
There's so
much more realistic.
Yeah, and there's something about like CGI stuff or even like AI stuff in that as well. There's this like weird like smoothness to it that's just not.
You can tell.
Yeah, you can just tell always, and it's just not like human, you know, and like or it's not. It doesn't seem real. It seems like a piece of art or something. But
that's one of the reasons why like people don't think that like the Hobbit trilogy is as good as the Lord of the Rings.
That's
trilogy,
what got me when I watched them, and I was just like, because it still directed by Peter Jackson and stuff.
Yeah, it was still Peter Jackson, but I don't really know why. But they decided to go the CGI route rather than the practical effects route, even though they had so much success and like acclaim for the practical effects in Lord of the Rings. But like, yeah, you compare, say, like Lurtz. Lurtz was like the big Uruk-hai that killed Boromir with like his bow in Amon Hen at the end of the Fellowship. Like, he looked so good.
Yeah.
He looked so good. And like, compare that to, say, like Azog the Defiler, who's like the great white orc in Hobbit. Like, the character design itself was awesome, and like the voice acting was amazing. Did you know the voice actor, Manu Bennett, is the guy... You watched Spartacus, right? Did you watch Spartacus? You know Crixus from Spartacus?
He was cool.
Yeah, Crixus from Spartacus, Manu Bennett, I think that's his name. Yeah, he does the voice acting for Azog, and I thought the voice acting was fantastic. But they should have just got the actor Manu Bennett and just like done him up in practical effects. Yeah, because he was like a big jack guy in real life. Yeah, remember from Spartacus, he was like so they should have just done that. And he would have looked so much better.
I remember watching a YouTube breakdown of like a fight scene between it was the one with like Aragorn and Lurtz compared to like a fight scene that was in one of the new like Lord of the Rings of Power thing, and they were just like basically comparing the actual like fight and comparing the cinematography in that, and like how different it is, and like how much more the Aragorn one, like basically like saying how much of a work of art it is in like every way, and just even the way that the fight and the and the camera angles that they're using and everything compared. The other one was like it was almost just as long, but like there was so much like pointless stuff to it that isn't realistic to an actual fight, or like and stuff like that. And it's like, but it was more of a budget and everything. It just seemed like that's got to be.
That's surely got to be one of the biggest flops in history, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're making that's officially like loads more of them as well, aren't they?
Are they?
I think so.
I heard a rumor that they were going to like cancel the third season. But cool. I don't know. But I mean, I don't know 100%. I don't know if that was just like a rumor of like people that were starting it like surely they've got to, and then everyone was like, yeah, surely they've got to.
Yeah, it might have been a rumor that I saw of like they've got like 7 or something that they're gonna like they're gonna do, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, but like who's even going to watch it by that point? Because I watched some. I mean, I didn't even watch the latest season because, to be honest, I was like really put off after watching the first season. But one thing I did do to almost like see if I should watch it was I watched a lot of like, because I follow quite a lot of like Lord of the Rings lore channels on YouTube from other basically Tolkien nerds like myself that I sort of trust their opinions. And I watched some of their review videos, and it was almost like so funny because like. To be honest, I don't think there was like a single one that actually said that they thought it was like actually good. And there was like the one that I was like following most closely. I think they got to like episode. I can't remember how many episodes were in the season. I think they maybe got to like the episode before the last episode, and then they were literally just in the review video. They were like, "Sorry guys, I'm not going to watch the last episode and review it because I'm like so." I'm so put off by the series by this point. I literally cannot. Like, I'm literally not going to waste my time watching the last one. They were just like. I've tried my best. Like I've got this far, but like I'm not going to do the last one because it's just like, like I love Tolkien, and this is just like flat out disrespectful to his. And he's like, it's not just disrespectful, but it's lazy. It's just it's like bad. It's just outright bad. Like it's lazy. It's disrespectful. It's almost like hard to like. It's hard to think of like anything that isn't negative that you could almost say about it.
It's good seeing when someone is like into it on that level where they can like analyze something. Like for me, when I watch it, I just get a vibe for it rather than like analyzing completely what is wrong or what. But when you see like something great and something not so great, but then there's someone who knows what they're talking about, like comparing to, it's like, whoa, this is actually so different. Like, I knew I didn't like that one as much, but like, I can see how.
Do you feel like the vibe you're getting from it was almost like a bad one? one.
Yeah. I knew it.
I've
definitely. I liked watching something that was like fantasy and like Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Don't
and,
we all?
Yeah, it was quite, and I could see it was high budget and that. So I kind of got through it and was like, it was one of those things I didn't really care about whether I watched it or not. If you know what I mean, it was just like something cool to watch.
The weird thing about it is, like,
Lord of the Rings, I was like, oh my god, like
I'm almost like confused at how much of a flop it has turned out to be, because when you bear in mind that like it's officially had more money pumped into it than any other television program ever in history.
What?
Right?
Yeah,
did you not know that?
That's insane.
Yeah, more than any television show in history. So think about like Game of Thrones, all the massive ones, more than anyone in history, right? And the fact that there's like usually you'd think there'd be like something about it that would like be head and tails above the rest. But like the guy that was reviewing it, and I to be honest, I hadn't really thought about it in too much depth until he said it, but then I was trying to think like, what do I honestly think about it, and I sort of agreed. He said the best thing about it is the score, the music, but even that, it's not like blowing you away. You know when you watch something and it's got an amazing score, things like Star Wars, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, there's lots of things, you watch and you think, God, the score in this is adding to it so much. Conan the Barbarian, the original. There's lots and lots of different movies and television programs. To be fair, I thought Game of Thrones, I thought they had a great score. Everyone remembers the classic Winterfell theme and just everything, like even the intro music. Like, great score. And you'd think that for that amount of budget, like however many billions of dollars it was that was pumped into it, it was like stupid amount. It was like literally billions and billions of dollars that was pumped into Rings of Power.
That's crazy.
And you think about how many good musicians there are in the world, and you think like, how did it even end up as bad as it did? When like the best thing about it is the score, but even the score is basically, it's just sort of okay.
Yeah,
you're not even going to remember it.
And that's
really.
what they were saying. This guy who was like comparing the fights, he's just like, it's bad writing. They're going for visual, but even it doesn't make sense. The things that they're doing in the fight, it wouldn't make
do it in real
sense
life
to do that, and do you know what I mean? It would just be like but when they did the Lurtz fight, it was like, oh, you can see like what happens in this moment when he gets like thinged up against the tree and stuff in his head, and he's gonna, do you know what I mean? And all it was quite realistic and brutal, I'm
pretty sure that for the Lord of the Rings movies, I'm pretty sure the swordsman, the expert swordsman they got in to choreograph the scenes, I think his name was Bob Anderson. Don't quote me on that, because I might be wrong, because I haven't looked it up, obviously. This is just going purely from memory, from something I might have seen like years and years ago, or read years and years ago. But I think his name was Bob Anderson, and do you know what? I want to say, I think he might have even been the guy that did the choreography for the Star Wars movies.
Man, great choreography.
Yeah, if that is the case.
As good as it gets.
Not maybe. I have a feeling that maybe not all the Star Wars movies, but maybe at least some of them. Bob Anderson, I think. Drew, try being like Bob Anderson, Lord of the Rings, Drew, or Bob Anderson, swordsman. But anyway, he was like an expert swordsman. Yeah, so he was like a world-class fencer and swordsman.
Knows what he's talking about.
And he learned all the different sword styles for all, like old European style.
Highlander, the Three Musketeers, Princess Bride, Mask of Zorro, Lord of the Rings, and Die Another Day.
Check this out. All right, yeah. So maybe not Star Wars, but check out that resume.
Yeah, Star Wars. Star Wars.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So literally, what a resume that guy's got. And the thing is, but it shows, because obviously, in a very simple sense, I don't know if it was Peter Jackson, the director, or the director of any of these movies, or who it was, but whoever was in charge of this fight choreography thought, right, okay, let's get an expert in. They got Bob Anderson. He's a world-class fencer. He's taught himself like the European HEMA style, a history of European martial arts, basically swords fighting with a broadsword, or like a European style sword, like that, like more like that sword behind me, and then like more like the Japanese style. He's taught himself every single one, so that you've got someone expert, and then he'd work with every single actor one-on-one to choreograph the scenes. And what makes me think that's mental is, why didn't the Rings of Power just do that? Why didn't they just do that?
It's interesting that there's no correlation between budget and
quality.
Yeah, quality. Yeah. Like, if anything, you could even argue that there's a correlation in the opposite direction. Yeah, things tend to get worse the more budget they have.
It's like trying to tick boxes.
It's like an over-reliance, isn't it?
Like, think that.
What did you say, man?
Like, trying to tick boxes for like certain things, and like like that's been happening a lot over the last like 4 years, and I think like some of the decisions maybe come from more of those kind of things, like rather than actual like true like
it's like South Park, isn't it? You know that like there's that like South Park episode where it's like Cartman's like Kathleen Kennedy, who's like the lady that she's currently in charge of Star Wars, but she's going to resign like really soon, or already has resigned maybe, I don't know. But it's just like basically it's like typical South Park, and they're taking the mick out of like current movies and series, and why like a lot of movies and series have like flopped in recent years, and just basically like they're just like in a boardroom, and like everybody that comes up with an idea of something, it's like stick it. What's it? He's like, stick a chicken in it and make her lame and gay. it's like, and we've got the new Star Wars movie, Ken. He's like, stick a chicken in and make her lame and gay. And it's like, and what about Lord of the Rings? Stick a chicken in and make her lame and gay. It's like, and everyone's like, but there seems to be some pushback, and he's like, stick a chicken in and make it lame and gay. It's so true. So funny, man, isn't it?
Star Wars is a great example of it. Like, there's some of the Disney stuff that they've released. Like, they've had their hits with like Mandalorian and stuff like that. Yeah. But like,
and like I thought Ahsoka was really good.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about what's that? We've not even watched it, but the clips we've seen.
I really like. Is it the one with the like the black girl who is like who's like a twin in it?
Yeah, the Acolyte.
I really like that though.
Did you like it?
Yeah, really? I really like. I mean, because I like all those like Star Wars spin-off ones and everything. Yeah, but I like the story of it, like because it was like this witch coven, and these girls were like twins that were almost like created by this witch coven, yeah, that like and the Jedi found, so they were using the Force as part of this witch coven, and apparently like that was outlawed or whatever, and you shouldn't be able to use the Force unless you were a Jedi, like and it was pretty cool. And then there was like this 4 Jedi that turned up onto this planet where this like witch coven group who were like hiding away and stuff, and they'd created these twins. And one of the twins wanted to become a Jedi, and the other one was like, "No, we're the Witch Coven," and all this crazy stuff happens, and they end up like killing the whole tribe, like the Jedi do. And then there's this big thing.
The moral implication.
Yeah, and there's this big thing where like the one of the twins goes with the Jedi and becomes a Jedi. The other twin is thought to have died with the rest of the tribe. But then there's this Jedi kind of person that's trying to kill different Jedis that like years later, and she's basically trying to seek vengeance on the 4 Jedi that had killed her whole tribe. And I thought that was quite a cool like storyline. And she becomes like a dark Jedi, like more like Sith like and stuff, and was getting trained by a Sith or something.
I think it's really good that you enjoyed it, but I think the problem is, and it's the same problem that people had with The Witcher, and it's the same problem that people have with The Rings of Power. If you're into the franchise as a whole enough to like really know about it, the plot for The Acolyte shouldn't make sense.
It like retcons a lot of what already exists.
It retcons it. That's exactly right. It retcons it, and like that in itself. Yeah, again, the same. So retcon is basically when you're like. You're making a new almost like law or like a new
just
truth
for that specific thing.
So obviously in real life we have like accepted things. So we know that say like between 1938 and 1945, Britain was at war with Germany, with the Nazis. Do you know what I mean? That's how accepted. So obviously in every single universe they have their own timeline. They have their own like universal truths, if you like. You know, the plot line to The Acolyte almost like destroy, like that makes suddenly almost the rest of Star Wars not make sense, because the whole point is I think The Acolyte is set like 100 or 200 years before say a Phantom Menace, but in a Phantom Menace when they find Darth Maul and all the rest of it, it's like the first Dark Force user. They describe it as like the first Dark Force user that they've discovered in like thousands of years. There's loads of other little problems,
like Anakin being like the chosen one that was born through the Force,
and the
as well,
fact that Yoda is the fact that Yoda is like, what was he, like 800 years old or like 1,000 years old by the time he dies? Like if The Acolyte was real, Yoda would have been like 600 or something when it happened, and Yoda would have just known all about it. So then when they say like in the Phantom Menace when Darth Maul came on the scene, anything. he'd have been like, and say there was that scene where Mace Windu or whoever it was, like said like, oh, this is the first like Dark Force user that's appeared in like 1,000 years. Yoda would just be like, oh no, and that's not true, because like 100 or 200 years ago, when I was already like 600 or whatever, this whole thing kicked off with this coven, and they were using the Force, and they were bad, and they were trying to kill these Jedi because we killed them. And, do you know what I mean? It's like it just makes everything sort of like not make sense, which I think is the problem, and that's the same problem that everyone has with the Rings of Power. It's like the whole thing in Lord of the Rings, like mythos, like since like day dot in all the books and everything, was that Galadriel was this like ridiculously powerful like sorceress, like, you know, even more powerful maybe than like Gandalf and that. Do you know what I mean? Like the like the most. I think she's like, you know, if she's not the most powerful elf, she's like one of the top 2 like most powerful elves on the planet by the time Lord of the Rings is around. Like probably the most powerful elf on the planet. But like she's not like a swords, you know, like she's not like Legolas. Legolas doesn't have any magic. He's just this like dope as hell guy with his freaking bow and his like blades and that. You know, and Elrond's like he uses a bit like, you know, he's got healing magic and that, but more when he fights he uses his sword and the rest of it. Galadriel's like pure like freaking, you know, if you've like played played like RPGs and like computer games, she's purely like invested all of her skill points in like the freaking magic trees. Do you know what I mean? Like she's never even described as like, I think, holding a sword. And then it's like weird that in Rings of Power they don't like almost warrior. Like show magic at all, and she's like Xena warrior princess. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a bit odd, and yet again it's almost like a bit just like bad writing. Like at least try and explain that. At least try and explain why that is. You know, like why is she not this super powerful witch? Why is she like doing frickin' triple somersault backflips with her frickin' with her blade? Do you know what I mean? Like rather than just being like.
I can't remember it might have been the first season, but I remember when I started watching it, and I was laughing just at how cheesy it was. Where there was this scene of her like riding a horse like across a beach in slow motion. She's just.
It was the weirdest cum face. And I was the weirdest cum face I've ever seen.
Like, what even is this?
It was completely out of context, wasn't it? It didn't even make sense. I remember watching that and almost being like laughing, but I was almost like
what?
And it was like super zoomed in, super close up of this like weird cum face. And it was like, mate, what even is going on right now?
Yeah, I knew I was in for a bit of a weird ride when I saw that scene.
Yeah, it was really freaking bizarre, man, wasn't it? It was really freaking weird.
It just seems so like maybe the Lord of the Rings one is a bad example because they were using characters that already existed. But like with the Star Wars one, for example, like if you're going to tell a completely new story and introduce all new characters and a new theme and something that no one is familiar with whatsoever, set it in the future. Yeah. Set it after everything that's already occurred so that it doesn't mess around with what we already know.
Or I think would be even better, and it would actually be easier. So this is why it just like boggles my mind that more like studios and people don't do this, is why not just create a story that's already loved by fans and stick to the source material?
Yeah.
You know, there's loads of stories in the Star Wars mythos about
would be
Darth Nihilus, who apparently was this ancient Sith who lived thousands of years ago, who was so powerful. He was like this like Sith sorcerer, and he would drain the life force from planets to the point where like the planets would just die.
That's a cool plot.
yeah, do you know what I mean? Or there's like Darth Revan, who's probably one of the most like popular sort of characters, and it was almost like he started off as a Jedi, but then he sort of fell to the dark side. But then I think at the end of his life, he became good again. But he's supposed to be like, in terms of almost like overall like balancing like lightsaber skill with like like almost like natural ability, he's almost like maybe thought of as like, you know, one of the most powerful Force users of all time. It's like, tell his story, and there's even been the people have even petitioned for it and been like, the perfect person to play him would be Keanu Reeves. Like literally. Make a freaking storyline. Like a lot of the Revan plot is already like laid out, and there's a couple of like blanks that you could fill in. Yeah, with just some good writing. Get an amazing writer to just research the source material. Any of the cool like blanks, fill him in this like amazing creative way. Like have their creative freedom in that aspect. But yeah, get someone like Keanu Reeves who like matches perfectly the description of like what he looks like and who like would almost be trusted by the fans and who the fans want. Get him to play Darth Revan. Pump a couple of freaking mil into that. That'd be great.
Because the writing's already there, and people love it. It's already touched the lives of many.
And because I think Revan was supposed to live like I don't even know, but it's like 1,000 or 2,000. It might be, I think it's like 2,000 years before the events of a Phantom Menace or something. It's so long ago, it wouldn't like tamper with anything modern day, which I think is a lot of people have a problem with. It's like, don't ruin the stuff that we already like to try and make something new, or like don't tamper with it, you know. But if it's something that happened like 2,000 years ago, then that's cool, you know, because that's so far removed. It's like you could have all this crazy stuff going on in the galaxy or whatever, and it would just be like, yeah, well, that's cool because, like, you know, and this is like
it's almost like they're targeting people who won't know about that. So like for myself, like I don't have a clue about any of the.
So that's why you enjoyed it more.
Yeah, because I had no emotional investment in what the actual story was, and that, so I was just seeing it at face value. And I think with Lord of the Rings, a lot of people are doing that with Rings of Power. Like I think they're just they're watching it as like they might not have even seen the actual Lord of the Rings because they're in like a new generation of people or something like that. But it's just like you're just doing it for views then, or for like you know, like what you think a market will like, rather than
I think that's like such a that's exactly the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same criticism of the Witcher series, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's almost like, well, who's going to know if we just change all the lore and everything? And it's like, well, don't you think the majority of people that are going to watch a Witcher television program are fans of The Witcher? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like it makes sense, like on paper, doesn't it? It's like the majority, like probably, I would say 50% of people that probably tuned into the first episode of The Witcher, same with Rings of Power, maybe more than 50%, are people that enjoyed the video games and the books, right? And a lot of the other 50% are probably just like girlfriends or boyfriends of people that did, and they're watching it because they're partnering. Do you know what I mean? Right. So like by that, and then the people that are watching it with, say, their partner that really dug the books or the games or both, they might be put off because of the reaction from their partner, who was like, this doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty crummy. So it's like, if like, going by that logic, why would you do something to almost like slap those people in the face? Like you're doing something that's like obviously going to annoy those people.
It's such like an obvious error, and one that gets repeated over and over again, that you just think, who the hell was making those decisions? It's good to see that, like, finally though, you know, game renditions of like TV shows and movies and stuff are finally starting to come good. Like the Fallout show, really good. The Last of Us, really good. You know, hopefully that they can sort of start to see that pattern of maybe just respect the source material of stuff, and it will probably go a little bit better than if you're to try and make up your whole own new story using things that people already love.
Do you reckon a lot of it is like who funds things as well? Like whoever's putting the money up has more of a say in like what happens. Like, and then some
put a chicken in it, make a label, make a game.
Yeah. But that's it. Like, you can imagine some of these massive like budgets that are pumped into it and stuff. It's going to be the prerogative of whoever owns a production company and it wasn't that what Henry Cavill was saying about
Henry Cavill, because he's like a full-on nerd.
So
about, he knows all the lore.
Like, Netflix had their own prerogatives, and because they were putting their money up for it, they're like, oh no, we're going to do it like this and do it like that. And he's like, well, no, that's not the way the story is, and stuck by his guns. But you want people that are actually invested in the story as well, and
surely that's what you'd want. You'd want an actor that really cares about the thing. And it's almost like apparently the producers and the directors almost just like their attitude towards Henry Cavill was just like they found him really annoying by the end, because like every time he'd read a scene or they'd go to do a scene that didn't make sense, he'd be like, Geralt wouldn't do this, or like Yennefer wouldn't do this, or whatever. It doesn't match their personality, or like this person wouldn't act like this in the thing. They just be like, oh, for God's sake, Henry, just read that, and he'd just be like, no, because like it needs to be changed. And then they would just get really annoyed with him, and he'd get really annoyed with them. But it's like, it's really good that he like stuck to his guns and almost like had the dignity to be like, okay, well, he's clearly not the kind of guy that's going to kick up a fuss or a stink, and I really respect that. Do you know what I mean? He's like obviously a dignified guy, so he hasn't put out any like dramatic Facebook or like social media posts. But he was just like, okay, well then respectfully, I'm just going to step away from the project because you're not really respecting the source material, and you're not even respecting the fact that I respect the source material. So essentially, like, good luck to you. But it's like, even that's going to put such a bad, taste in people's mouths. Because like for me, I always just sort of like, oh, you know, at least we've got like Henry, almost like, you know, like, almost like
flying the flag.
Waving the flag for us. Do you know what I mean? For all the people that actually care and actually want it to be good.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well, with all of these things, whether it is Rings of Power or whether it is Witcher or whether it is Star Wars, as you said when you were first describing the Acolyte, Drew, at the end of the day, or was it the Acolyte, or Rings of Power? You said at the end of the day, it's just like I love fantasy. I want this cool fantasy thing. Like, yeah, exactly. So why don't you just make something that isn't based on something that already exists?
Yeah,
like with both The Witcher and the Rings of Power. You could essentially almost have the same plot. You just have to change the names of the characters and maybe a couple of things. If as long as something wasn't like copyrighted by the individual franchise, like maybe change a couple of the creatures a little bit, turn the orcs into trolls.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they're wanting to like piggyback off the name of something so great, and then also just do it in the way that they want to do it. But it's like that doesn't. Like,
that's even worse, though, isn't it? That's
Tolkien would be turning in his grave, you know. Yeah. To know that his art has been like changed like
tarnished.
That, you know?
Yeah. The whole Tolkien estate.
Like, I wonder, like, was it just money talking? Like, whoever owns his estate or whatever, or the rights to that was just like, yeah, go for it. We'll like
I think
Amazon billion in the bank.
Yeah, I think Amazon were trying to buy the rights for it for a long time, and then eventually, and because like, the Tolkien estate, the Tolkien family are very guarded about Tolkien's works, and then in the end, they made like a very specific deal where like for like an insane amount of money they could like do something Tolkien related. But I think there was like a lot of like dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Do you know what I mean? Like I think it was like they couldn't adapt. I think it was like they couldn't adapt like certain storylines and stuff like that. Like they couldn't actually like they couldn't try and recreate like the Lord of the Rings the same way that Peter Jackson did, or they couldn't. I think that's the case. Or like but
anything already existing.
Yeah,
it's fascinating as well, like how many writers. And I don't know if it's director's fault. Maybe. I mean, I assume it's whoever's in charge. It's probably a bit of everything, but finishing off stories in series and movies, like whether it's the third installment of a trilogy or whether it's a later season of a show. You take Game of Thrones for an example. I'm watching Lost at the moment. I've heard a lot of people say that sort of peters off towards the end. It's crazy how they can't ever finish as strong as they start. It seems to be a rare event when they actually do manage to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes you see writers and they sort of like put themselves into a corner a little bit.
Yeah, almost get ahead of themselves while they're trying to set everything up. And I guess when you're introducing things, you can introduce so many interesting plot lines and be like, oh, I wonder where that's going to go, without even having the answer yourself.
Just and like an endless story.
I think like sometimes it's like a risk, like a calculated risk, isn't it? So I think like with Game of Thrones, like the guys, I can't remember what they were. Was it like D.B. Weiss and something else? Anyway, the guys that adapted Game of Thrones for the big screen. They knew that George R.R. Martin hadn't finished the Song of Ice and Fire series when they started the show, and they were just hoping that he'd be finished by the time they. Do you know what I mean? That he would have like caught up by the time they'd done all of like the adaptations of his books up to that point. Obviously, in hindsight, that's hilarious because the last season of Game of Thrones was freaking years and years ago now, and George R.R. Martin still hasn't even finished the penultimate book, the second from last book. And a lot of people are saying now, like, there's no chance that it's even ever going to be finished, and that George R. R. Martin himself has put himself into a corner because apparently he's really old now. I can't remember his exact age, but I think he's like in his 80s, and obviously he's a very large man. He's an overweight man. Apparently he's quite unhealthy, so people are saying like the chances of him finishing are like so slim, and it's like almost going to be like a literary travesty.
Do you think it's going to be like piled the pressure on as well with how badly it was received? The final seasons.
Yeah, probably. But I also think I think he branched off too much. I think he made too many characters, all with too many intricate storylines, and I think it makes it almost like nigh impossible to bring it full circle and wrap it up. The good thing about Tolkien, and we talked about this in the past, he was like a very neat writer. He pre-planned everything. And he like meticulously wrote all the different languages. And to be fair, George R. R. Martin's done that as well. So like Dothraki is like it's its own massive language. And you can buy books, and it's like how translating English into Dothraki, so you can learn Dothraki and stuff, which is so cool. But like Tolkien was so meticulous that it was almost like everything was under control. That's I think the easiest way to describe it. Do you know what I mean? It was like everything was under control. When he was writing his book, there was never a chance he wouldn't be able to finish it. And I think you see the same thing with Bernard Cornwell. So Bernard Cornwell was obviously the guy that wrote all the Last Kingdom stories, also all the Sharp stories, things like that. And what Bernard Cornwell does is he takes real life history, but then he makes fictionalized events within that, which is such a cool thing to do. But I think, the reason why, say, the Last Kingdom television show is so good is A, they didn't divert too much from the source material. They just they picked and B, they picked something that already had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Bernard Cornwell had already finished the books. So all they had to do, and they did this really well in my opinion, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some people out there that might nitpick and say, and yeah, obviously it's not exactly the same as the books, they had to cut some stuff out, a bit like with the Lord of the Rings movies, even though it's held in really high acclaim. For example, Tom Bombadil's not in it. Certain other things didn't happen because to adapt a book like every page, it's almost like it's too hard, because obviously there's just so much you need to fit in. But by and large, the reason why The Last Kingdom is so well loved and so well received by Bernard Cornwell fans and by people that have never read the books alike, is because all they did was they found something that was really freaking good, they found really good source material, and then they just followed it. And that's what The Witcher should have done. But they didn't. They got an actor that was would be an awesome Uhtred. They hired that guy that would be like an awesome Uhtred, and he is a cool character. You do naturally like him. They hired a load of other badass characters, a load of interesting characters, and they just like followed the books really from beginning to end. You know what I mean? And it's like that was such like a successful thing. They did the same thing with Sharp, starring Sean Bean. That was like all made in the 90s. Definitely to this day one of my favorite television programs of all time. But and it's cool as well because it's like a television program, but like every single Sharp's like a freaking movie as well. Like everyone's like an hour and a half long or something.
Nice.
It's well freaking good. But yeah, again, it's just because the source material is such high quality. Such high quality. Love it.
Good to stick to it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Didn't put any lame gay chicks in it, man.
I was just trying to see if he's what even the last book was that George R.R. Martin wrote, but I can't figure it out. But yeah, he hasn't done anything in a while.
Did he do? He wrote the entire story for House of the Dragon, didn't he? That's all completed.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, so good.
Yeah,
such a good show.
But even he's like upset about that. I just saw that as well, saying that they've weakened it a lot because of not including things or like cutting stuff out and that, But yeah, it's really good. But yeah, and that's quite to the T.
I wonder if there were like certain things in the later seasons of Game of Thrones that he like had in his head, like, oh yeah, I was going to do that, like I was going to incorporate that, and then those things got like, it's hated, and people are like, George R.R. Martin would never write this, and he was like,
oh damn,
back to the drawing board.
This.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it?
There's a signed thing on eBay of A Song of Ice and Fire, all signed by George R.R. Martin, and it's $12,000 for like all the books. It's loads of books though. It's crazy how much he has written.
Yeah. No, it's nuts, isn't it? Yeah, I think you can tell he's almost like finding that easier as well. So he's been doing that more. Like, I'm pretty sure he finished the House of the Dragon like since he finished the last like A Song of Ice and Fire story. But it's because it's a neater story, isn't it? You know what I mean? Less characters. It's less he's made it neater, so it's more like accomplishable. Whereas like it's almost like Game of Thrones. He's almost like created a monster. He's created a monster he cannot tame. Yeah. You almost need to like find someone that he trusts. Yeah. To like almost help him accomplish the finishing it. Even though that's so hard though, isn't it though? Because that's a bit like say like the lead singer of a band dying and then somebody getting a new lead singer, and it's like it's still cool. But everybody has such a unique style that it's almost it's still like a new band. So much, does it? Like I know you get some co-author things, but it's normally for like factual stuff and that. Like I can't think of many like actual novels that are like co-written. I mean, Christopher Tolkien did it for his father. So Christopher Tolkien released some of the novels, but he obviously not only was he his father's son, so he would have had more insights than like pretty much any other author. But obviously he had access to all of his father's notes. Like he literally had them because he inherited them, and like because J.R.R. Tolkien was so meticulous, he just had like hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of notes that had almost pretty much planned out the stories, even though they hadn't been written, because that's the way that Tolkien would write. So it was like, okay, yes, in like Beren and Luthien, it's all going to be like this or whatever, like. you know, in the Children of Huron, like, you know, this is every single character's background and this is what the plot's going to be, you know. But so it was almost like filling in the blanks.
Such an art form, isn't it, as well, storytelling?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
doing it properly. Like I wonder if like when people do write and they're like proper authors and stuff, like whether you know the overall rules of like a good story, and then like you have to like stick to that, or you just kind of go with the flow of it and you know, try and tie things up and actually just write chapter by chapter. Do you know what I mean? Like there's definitely there's definitely like a structure to it. I even like look at it with like videos and stuff, like when they say about, you know, like video editing and that, and it's like, right, this is a good kind of like structure to follow. And it's like, is that the same for like stories and do you know what I mean? Like how much people rely on that, or they just go from what's flowing out of them, you know?
Oh yeah, man, definitely. And I also think when it comes to things like this, like it's not like even sometimes a matter of like, you know, is the author good or bad? Like, say, you know, if you are like taking over from somebody or trying to say like finish somebody else's story that like they died or whatever, it's not even like a matter of like good or bad. It's a matter of almost like taste, isn't it? So it's like, and yet again, I use like almost like the musician analogy. Do you know what I mean? You could have like 5 really good musicians in a room, but like, you know, different people are gonna have different opinions on who their favorite artists are out of those 5 musicians. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's like styles, isn't it? It's very different stylistically. Like, what's her name? Is it Emily Armstrong, the one that's like the new lead singer of Linkin Park? Like obviously she's singing Chester's songs, but she's like, do you know what I mean? She's got a different vibe, she's got a different feel, she's got a different sound and voice, and it's like, is it Robert Duvall? Is it Robert Duvall, the lead singer of Alice in Chains now? You know, like Lane Staley died of a drug overdose back in the day, and it's like, again, he's singing the same songs, and on paper you're like, oh yeah, well, he's singing the same songs, and they're a good musician, but it's like, yeah, but it's just different. It's different. It's got different vibe, different feel, different sort of stage presence. Everything about it is different. So it's like, it's not even about like whether is it good or bad, is it? It's like everyone has their own flavour. Yeah. And it's very hard to like have somebody else's flavour. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I remember thinking that watching Queen and Paul Rodgers, like hearing all of those Queen songs like live, like Fat, and it sounded amazing. He had an amazing voice, but it's like, so it's completely different, like, you know, because it's Paul Rodgers. It's not
there's so much to be said for like presence as well, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Like everybody has their own unique presence, and sometimes it's like bands are like chemistry, I think, and something about them, they like are the perfect mix. You know, like Pantera back in the day, like the mix of like Phil and then Dime and then Vinny and Rex. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's like freaking so awesome that Pantera are like touring nowadays with like Zach. But yeah, again, I think Zach is very rare because Zach is like a guitarist that is just as charismatic as Dime, which is a super rare thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like there's only one guitarist on the planet that could do it, and that is Zach. So they're really lucky that they had access to him, and he actually
and
wanted
they were
to
really
do it,
good mates as well, weren't they?
Yeah. Exactly. But like that's super rare. That's super rare, you know. So yeah, I think a lot of the time it's like the chemistry in that as well, isn't it? Do you want to know something mental I found out the other day?
What's that?
And I'd never heard this until last week. And to be fair, it was Evie that told me, and at first I thought she was like having me on. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh man, she's actually right. She must have watched it on like a little program or something. You know, in Borneo, they have like what are called like proboscis monkeys, and they're the monkeys, if you can like think of them, that have like they got like red faces and like big noses.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the slang for proboscis monkeys in Borneo, I think they call them Englishmen.
Whoa,
I think that in
so funny.
I think that in that country they refer to them because they think of like, you know, when they first came across like Europeans, but mainly I guess like English, they think of us as having like red faces and big noses. Your classic English drunk.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah. Did you know that proboscis monkeys have webbed feet?
Oh,
whoa!
That I thought that was mental.
Yeah,
I thought that was a mental fact. Yeah, proboscis.
Do they swim?
Yeah. So proboscis monkeys have evolved webbed feet. It's like the frickin' Kevin Costner movie Waterworld.
Yeah.
You know that old movie? Have you ever watched that?
I like that, yeah. With the dirt.
And it's like the whole thing is it's like the world's, you know, there's no like land left. And then Kevin Costner's character like develops webbed feet.
And gills.
And gills.
Yeah.
And gills. Mental, mate. Mental. But yeah, proboscis monkeys like Kevin Costner in Waterworld have developed webbed feet.
Man, that's awesome.
So they can swim like super fast and everything. And apparently it's because they spent a lot of the time in water. And their main predator is crocodiles. So they've evolved webbed feet so that they can swim fast enough to get away from crocodiles in water. Isn't that mental?
I met a dog
That's
the other
really
day
cool.
with webbed feet. Yeah,
What?
apparently there's
You are kidding me.
There's a
Dog.
Irish water spaniel, yeah, and it's a very rare
What
dog.
the
Apparently, there's only like
hell?
3,000 of them, but there was this like spaniel, so it looked a bit like Rupert, like same colour and that, but just super fluffy, like really like those tight little ringlets, but just like hanging down off its face and everything. And they're really weird. So they're like that, but they've got their tail is like it's still got it's still hairy. It's not like a hairless tail, but it's like a rat's tail rather than like,
Bullwinkle's showing me a picture
and the
right
rest
now.
of them are completely like
Yeah, it's
thing,
almost
but
like a
they've got
cross
webbed
between.
feet as well.
They've got webbed feet.
Yeah, and I thought, and they're called water spaniels, so I guess it's something to do with the water as well.
Have they been like bred to like hunt something in the
Fish.
water or something? Bred to hunt fish.
But yeah, I just remember
Or,
the guy told me, and I was like, oh, that's pretty mad.
That is mad, man. That is actually crazy.
Mm.
Man, I did not know. I thought it was mental about the monkey.
Yeah.
I didn't know. It seems there are more species of animal with webbed feet that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Imagine if those monkeys like did evolve to like whales evolved to be able to hold their breath for ages, and then we just had little like water monkeys swimming around.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty mental, isn't it? That's just like basically like, yeah, that's literally what happened to whales. Like they used to be animals that looked like almost like a bit like, I think they look like a bit like hippos apparently, but they have more. They're more commonly related to cows apparently, like in their lineage.
That's fascinating.
But yeah, they just spent more and more time in the water until like they just lost their limbs. Literally, just turned into flippers. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, now they couldn't be like more different from land mammals.
Yeah, it's mad.
Crazy.
It's mad, isn't it? But it's mad how they also became like the other ones that are like most sentient. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like
I guess all that time in the water alone it lets you think.
Like they
ponder.
have full communication, and they think. You know, they can problem solve and they can think like humans do, which is mad, isn't it?
That's very cool.
They show they're one of the few animals that show like traits like consideration, which is quite an advanced trait, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
100%.
most animals, they don't have the ability to show consideration to other creatures.
Yeah,
You know?
and also I read something about you know, when something like plays on your mind or you think back to something. There was something that they proved about dogs as well, which is just a weird trait, maybe because of like humans and everything compared to other wild animals and stuff. But they will contemplate things that they've done earlier in the day that has had an emotional
Dogs
impact. Yeah, that's had an emotional impact with their parents. So if they've been told off or something, or like
That's hilarious.
they'll
really
actually
funny.
I feel
think
bad about
that hours later, and will like lie there like contemplating it and being like a bad mood about it because they've known it's had an emotional impact on. And I thought I was a bit mad.
That is mad.
So it's almost, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like contemplating what you've done, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard that it's like mental, and it's like scientists don't understand like how this is even the case. And people, if you think this is mad, don't take my word for it. Just look it up. Just look it up, right? Because there are people far more intelligent than me that say this is fact. They've done research and studies and tests where it's a fact that both cats and dogs seem to be able to know when their owner is coming home ahead of time.
Yeah, 100%.
That is mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So apparently they put like video cameras in people's living rooms and stuff, or people's
They can be like a mile away, so there's no way there's be a sense.
It's like you're like 5 minutes away in the car.
Yeah,
you're like, and then it's almost like they'll go and then wait by the door, and then the owner will come in.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 minutes later, and it's like,
I've
what is
seen
going
that.
on there?
Yeah.
Like it's like they've got a better connection with time than we do. Like their routines, they can. I was watching something the other day that was quite
Either that,
interesting.
or there's something else going on that it's like even more. Twilight
Yeah,
Zone.
because I heard that it wasn't just about routine. It was like they were doing that even if it wasn't to routine. It was
because
just
you could be
randomly,
like, what if you were coming back? Like, what if you were the sort of person that comes back at different times? You know.
Yeah, because I was hearing some people say even about it was something to do with like the scent in the air, like, but I'm like, that can't. How can it?
Surely not scent in the actual like in terms of like nose, because that wouldn't make sense.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
How can it? When
if
you're
in
a
your
mile
car
away,
with the windows up, like, do you know what I mean? Or maybe even more. Yeah, that wouldn't make sense to me. I think it's something. I heard something mental the other day as well. I can't remember what who it was I heard it from now. But she was a very credible woman. She wasn't like it definitely wasn't some quack. And she's like dedicated her life to like studying this field. And it was going on. You know, like some super autistic kids and stuff are like mutes, involuntary mutes. They were saying that there's like load of evidence from like tests, like, you know, like literally just like tests that are done, like black and white tests that are done, that shows that like these like super autistic mute kids essentially have like slightly psychic abilities.
What?
Yeah, and that they know what like their parents are thinking. So apparently, like they've literally done tests, and a lot of the time these kids are so autistic, they don't realise that they whatever's going on in their mind is different, is out of the norm. So, but when they're with somebody that's taking the time with them and is very careful and considerate with them and is willing to do tests, then they can say like, you know, they'll put like the parent in one room and say like, okay, you know, write something down on a piece of paper, you know, in another room, and then they'll go into the other room, and then they'll say, all right, Timmy, well, you know, your mum's just written down something on a piece of paper in the other room. Like, what is it? And then obviously they can't speak, but then they'll like write down what it is.
It's like magic.
It's incredible. Magic, isn't it?
That's crazy. I don't even know what to say to that. That's insane. That blows my mind.
The same woman, and it's funny, isn't it? Because whenever you get into like things like this, it's like a lot of the things that like Neil deGrasse Tyson say, or some of the things that like Elon Musk says sometimes. You know, whenever you're dealing with like really high up astrophysicists or people that like, you know, she was like saying there's she wasn't even saying that I think that she believes this, but she was saying that there's like an I can't remember the way that she described it, but basically there's like the idea in like quantum physics where like basically the world might just be like an idea. Like might just be like I can't remember exactly the way she put it, like, so it's going like this is the crappiest description ever, but it was almost like yeah, like everything is just like almost dreamed into existence.
In the Gnostic principles, like there's 7 Gnostic principles, and one of I think the first one is everything is mind. So that's almost like their representation of like God or whatever within the Gnostic principles is like it's thought. So it's like the thought of a divine being or something, and so that kind of that kind of like falls into that a bit, and that's like ancient, like kind of.
Yeah, I think you can really go down a rabbit hole with this sort of stuff, but I think it reminds me of the whole idea that like obviously the more you think about something, the more power you're giving to that. You know, so it could be as simple as you know, you're really, really worried about a specific scenario, but then you accidentally, because you're putting so much mental energy into it, you actually end up creating that scenario, like to your own detriment. And that's why obviously it's very beneficial to be you know, to try and get things like anxiety under control, you know, to try and not be a worrier, because obviously it has no benefit, does it, to you, or there's no use for it, because what will be, even something really bad that happens or that might happen, even if it does happen, even if it's like but you know, it probably won't, but even spending time thinking about it, it's not beneficial to you in any way, shape or form, is it? So it's like, you know, it's almost like you'd be very careful what you give your mental energy to, you know?
Yeah, and I was reading something along those lines as well the other day, and saying like even your subconscious. So we've got a lot of thought when they talk about, you know, like changing the way that you think to have a better impact in your life and stuff. So a lot of the things that actually affect us are our subconscious thoughts rather than even our conscious thoughts. So I
remember you saying that.
And it's like that could have a massive impact if you've got like bad subconscious thoughts going in, like worry and like all those things you're saying, like that could actually be having an impact. So consciously trying to change your subconscious thoughts by like you know, introducing new ways of thinking, and that could be a powerful way, because I think some of the times we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's like why at the end of the day it's really important to try and practice being positive, isn't it? You know, or at least not negative. You know, at least like, you know, balanced. Because I think, you know, you should have like I think you should have a sensible respect for hazards and threats. Do you know what I mean? But not a pessimistic or negative view about the life in general. You know. I think that, you know, it's like, you know, be very balanced. Like, obviously, if there is an obvious threat, that should be taken seriously. but don't walk around in your normal day-to-day headspace with
expecting
this idea
it.
that like negativity. And I think again, you were saying about Gnostic principles, Drew. It's like why Stoicism is very good as well, isn't it? Because it's almost like of the almost at the very in very sort of layman's terms, the basis behind Stoicism is basically just like what will be will be.
Yeah.
Nature is nature. What will be will be. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's almost like what it's, that's basically almost like the whole thing of like Stoicism, like almost like summed up.
Like if something's happened, no point dwelling on it.
Yep.
And
Go
like
forward.
nature is beautiful.
Yeah, the next move.
Yeah. Like, nature is beautiful. It's amazing. It's really cool, guys. Isn't it? Yeah, of course, bad things happen. Don't worry about it. It's out of your control.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I had like a lucid dream last night.
No,
I swear you always have lucid dreams, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
mate.
I don't know what's going on with that. I feel like
could have a lucid
Yeah.
dream.
it was like half a lucid dream, I would say, because
Right.
I knew I was dreaming and I was like actively. I don't even know how to describe this. I was actively constructing what was happening in my dream and my surroundings, but I was like what I was so amazed at was how real it was. You know, like I was almost second guessing myself. Like, am I dreaming? Like this is, but I was still
feels
like, I
more
was
real
almost
than
putting
real life
myself in
sometimes.
different situations and building this picture. But that picture was like as real to me as it is here. But I knew I was dreaming, and that sort of ties in really well with what you were saying, like how the world can almost just be like a dream or an idea. You know, it's amazing what we can already
in your
construct.
dreams, like when you're doing that. Like I remember doing that, and I had some grass, and I remember putting my hands, knowing I was dreaming, and I put my hands through the grass, and I like rubbed my hands all the way along, and I was like, oh my god, this feels like pure grass. Like, do you know what I mean? You could smell it and feel it, and it was real, like it would be on your skin, you know. And I'm like, but I knew I was dreaming as well, and I was like, it is mad how we have that power within our mind to create that.
Whenever we talk about things like this, and when you take into account, what you guys just said, and then when you take into account how there's still so many unanswered questions about the universe, that whole truth is stranger than fiction, from as I said, the world's best astrophysicists, that so many strange facts that really it's very hard for us as monkeys, as apes, to get our heads around, like the fact that they know the universe apparently is both contracting and expanding at the same time. Or like, well, how does that work? The fact that there's a scientific principle that you can't get something out of nothing, but then apparently this universe was made by the Big Bang, but then we think that maybe the Big Bang, before the Big Bang, there was almost like the end of a universe that happened beforehand, and then it was almost like this mass retraction, and then suddenly this mass explosion again. But then we were like, okay, well then what was the last universe? And then like if you go back far enough from that, like where did it all originally come from? Which obviously a lot of religious people say shows signs that there's God. But what I'm getting to, my main point from all of this, is that's why I think people need to be really, really careful when it comes to taking psychedelics, because I think even with like a sober mind, like these things are so spinny. And say the very idea that say everything in our lives in the universe might come from like a concept or like or like an idea. Like it's very, very hard for us who we're just trying to live out productive lives to grasp all of that. And when I think you're adding in lots and lots of psychedelics, at least in an irresponsible manner, which I think a lot of people do.
Even in a responsible manner.
Well, yeah, even in a responsible manner, but especially in irresponsible manner, which a lot of people in the West do, a lot of people in the UK, a lot of people in the United States, a lot of people in Europe do. Where it's almost like even from like a teenage age, where you're like still haven't even really like
fully developed.
Yeah, your brain's not fully developed. You still haven't really like got over a grasp of a lot of like things, of like just normal day-to-day things. And then you're adding all these things. Like it's no wonder why some people just go completely insane.
Yeah.
Like obviously we know, obviously I don't want to say like a name, but obviously we know people that have definitely gone too far off the deep end and like just doing drugs, and it's like, man, I'm not surprised, because it's at the end of the day, the way I think about it is it's like what you want is every day when you wake up, you want to be able to put your boots on the ground, And it's almost like I feel like with these people, it's like they don't know what ground to put their boots on anymore.
Yeah, it's almost a bit Lovecraftian.
I don't know what's a better analogy. They don't know what ground to put their boots on, or their boots aren't there. But it's almost Lovecraftian.
Yeah,
it's like what they no longer can discern real from dream, or thought from reality.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a really horrible because I think what is comforting for us, regardless of what is the truth or the origin of the universe or the reality of the universe, and, you know, taking into account that obviously the way we perceive the universe is very specific to us from our specific senses and all the rest of it. You know, obviously even like dogs, you know, are colorblind. Some animals, you know, see in black and white. Some of them have completely different sight. You know, some of them are seeing like infrared. You know, we have a very specific set of senses. It's very comforting to think that, you know, at least most of us can almost like categorize these things. You know, okay, well, this is a dream. This is a daydream. This is a thought. This is me walking around in my normal day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Like, that's almost like an ability in itself, which you definitely want to preserve, because otherwise it's like the bets are off. You know, it's almost like the inmates are running the asylum.
It's crazy how people can like normalize it, like if they do it often enough, though. Like say like the Shames or something like, or Hamilton Salva and stuff. He's like pretty with it, and quite like you know, able to function in the real world with businesses and all that kind of stuff. Yet is deeply entrenched in like in those experiences. And like I was watching this. I've heard about these studies that have been in the UK with like DMT, and it's one of the only places that have been able to. They've all these clinical trials basically of like when DMT, if you have it without ayahuasca or something, if it's just like ingested, it doesn't work, and if you smoke it, it's like lasts about 15 minutes at the most. So you can't go in these like prolonged states of it unless you do something like ayahuasca. And there's this group in a university in England have been doing intravenous DMT like sessions, so that they can keep you in that altered state in the DMT land for like hours at a time by just intravenously like drip feeding you like DMT, so that by the time that your body like breaks it up, it keeps you in there. And I heard about it for like years, but I didn't know who was doing it in that. But I watched this podcast the other day of the guy who's like running it, and then the guy that's been like the main one of the main like participants in it for like the past years as well. And it was so interesting, like hearing them like talk about these other worlds and everything, and like what they're finding with the studies and that, and the kind of entities, and that there are these like beings that they like come across all the time and that. And but what this guy was saying is like when you've got to do it in a clinical environment, it's not the best setting for you for you to be experiencing these things, because you're in an MRI scanner, because they want to like see what it's doing to your brain and that, and like take all of the kind of like scientific like measurements of everything that's happening in your brain and your body and stuff. So like he was like, you know, it's been pretty crazy, but they're opening up this new research facility and center somewhere in the Caribbean where there's no rules with like the drugs and stuff, so that they can do all of this work, but in a setting that's like in the middle of like beautiful, like, you know, so yeah, and so it's gonna be way more like integrated into things that make you more relaxed and stuff, rather than just like
that's so cool.
But still doing it with all like the clinical trials and that. It sounded crazy, man. It sounded like when they talk about contact and communication with like aliens, and like how we're looking outwards, like to be able to do it in space rockets and things. But they're like, with the things that they're finding from these studies, it's like it will happen inwards by going into these like actual DMT lands and that, and actually having this communication with these other beings that are there, and they're trying to teach them and that. Yeah, like the machine elves and stuff, and how it's like they're even categorizing the different entities that they're finding, and like saying like the machine elves and that are usually the ones that are trying to show you something, as in like show you like oh, look, we can do this and you can do this. It's more like a teaching thing. But then like there's the mantis beings, like, you know, like praying mantis, like the
that doesn't sound very nice.
No, but like they're like
sounds sketchy.
Yeah, so there's like so many shared experiences from people that are like going into these like having these trips and that, and that are coming across these mantis beings, and they're more like doctor spirits. So they are like, or doctor entities, and they're always doing something to you, like as in like getting in your brain and like giving you like surgery and stuff. Mate, but it's like, it seems like there must be something out there with that. Like there must be so, like for so many people to have the same shared experiences of these interactions with entities that are like. It
reminds me of like when people freak out because like it'll be like, I mean, this happened to Alice the other day. she was like alone in her house in like the middle of the night, and then when like people say like suddenly that your dog will just go mental.
Yeah.
And she's like, there was like no one around. It was completely pitch black, quiet. She hadn't heard anything. She was looking around. It was there was nothing weird, but the dog had suddenly gone high alert, like almost like there was an intruder in the house or something. And it's like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
They can see something.
It's almost like, is there something that our senses can't pick up that's going on that is like for some reason freaking the dog out? Do you know what I mean? Like if their senses, like heightened. They say, don't they, that like I don't know obviously if there's any truth to this, but they say that like psychics and stuff, don't they say that like cats and dogs are much more like aware, say, of if you believe in such a thing anyway, are much more like let's just for argument's sake say that ghosts are real. Psychics and that say that dogs and cats like can like see ghosts and stuff like that. And I think they usually say that like cats are more drawn to it and dogs are a bit more like freaked out by it. I think that's a general rule, but yeah, quite cool. But we're gonna say something.
I was just gonna say it's interesting how dogs can like pick up things that we wouldn't expect them to pick up as well. Like I was listening to something the other day that was saying how the reason dogs might act different if you're intoxicated to when you're not is because they can actually pick up your heartbeat. And like let's say you were stoned or something, for example, and your heartbeat slowed, they would think it was because you were like unwell or ill.
Oh, really?
And that's why they're like a bit like
oh really?
When you're because they don't really know what to do, and they're trying to be like they might come up and be a bit more affectionate to you because they're trying to calm you down. Or
that does make sense in a way, obviously, because like when you do have like two of the most common household pets like dogs and cats, because they are predatory animals. Obviously, dogs evolved from wolves, and cats are cats. Like they just have much better hearing than us. Yeah. So maybe it's almost like weird though, isn't it? It's mad to think that like they might just be able to hear your heartbeat, and that would be like normal to them.
Yeah,
so,
I also heard
like,
that they, when you go to sleep with a dog, like and they go on your bed and that, like they actually they attune their heartbeat to your heartbeat when you're resting.
That's mad.
So that's why
like
people
girls
get
that are real close and they get their cycles. And
stuff, but like that's why like apparently you can get in real restful sleep with a dog. There is because
nice.
they sense your heartbeat and they synchronize their heartbeat with your heartbeat. I thought that's pretty cool.
Very nice, isn't it?
That's pretty cool.
Shout out to the pets of the world. We've got about 5 or so minutes left of the show. I was interested what your guys' take are on Ozempic. You guys know about Ozempic?
No. Oh,
So Ozempic, he heard you guys talking about dogs. He was like, "Oh yeah, about dogs."
Are you talking about me, Dad?
He's like, "My heart's in yours right now, man." Ozempic is you probably know about it, Drew, but it's that drug that has become sort of like widespread for the first time in the last even.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's like a fat loss like drug where people I think it's mostly if not completely used by injections. Yeah. And I think you take one like once a week or something.
My sister.
I wonder what your guys view. Really?
Yeah, sure.
When you say they've done it, are they actually still on it, or they're on like
a? But like I know, like Shaz and my mum were both doing it, and it just seems I don't know. I'm always like really wary of stuff.
It's
like
mad
that.
how like to me it's like something that's only just come on the market, but I feel like loads of people are already just like on it.
It's crazy,
and I think that's mad.
Like fat loss or something though. Like people jump on that, don't they? Or even like the pills and stuff.
But this is different. To be fair, Ozempic's different than the ones in the past because I don't feel like there's been a scientifically reliable fat loss pill, and like, you can go in a supplement shop and they'll be like fat loss pills, but to be honest, man, they're all just rubbish. Yeah, it's all like if you look at it's all. Just
there was some
odd
illegal ones as well that someone was getting at some point.
Oh, I'm sure,
and they were like
probably ones that were raising your metabolism or something.
They were literally speed.
I mean that's pretty much what I was. Yeah, like raising your metabolism or something like that. If you've got a faster metabolism, you're burning more calories per minute, sort of thing. But yeah, I was interested what your guys' views are on it because I mean. Trying to take everything into account and be as fair as possible, I've got conflicting views.
I'm the same.
Because on the one hand, it is a fact that like along with cigarettes and alcohol, the number one cause of like all-cause mortality, deaths in like the West essentially is obesity. So those are like the 3 most dangerous things in the West is like cigarettes, alcohol, and obesity. So with that in mind, obviously, if people get slimmer, regardless of how they become slimmer, they might live longer, which obviously is good for them and their families. So obviously, on paper, I'm a fan of that. What I don't like, and I think it's almost, and also it's like a bad thing in society in general, is I don't like almost the unfairness of it, if you want to call it that. When I say that, I know you could say, well, mate, anyone could take Ozempic, so it's not unfair. But what I don't like, it's almost a bit like steroids. That's how I see it. It's almost like steroids. It's like, well, some people might, I don't know, some people might not feel comfortable taking them for whatever reason. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on it, but I've looked into it briefly, and there are some bad health negatives about Ozempic. So, for example, while it does burn fat very effectively, it also burns away your muscle. And one thing you do not want, especially as you age, is your muscles atrophying. You obviously will get weaker. And to me, that's like almost a horrible thought. The fact that you're injecting something, and it's almost just like destroying your tissue. It doesn't even differentiate between your fat and your muscle. It's just like, I will eradicate this stuff. And that's to me, that's a horrible thought. And a bit like with the steroids thing, I think that like a lot of people take pride in getting in shape. And take pride in whether it's maximizing their natural potential or embracing struggle in life, which I think we should all do. I mean, listen to someone like Jordan Peterson. He's always going on about embrace, the hardships and, like make your bed in the morning, embracing struggle. And that's what will give you a fulfilling and rewarding life. Yeah, and that's what will give you a fulfilling and rewarding life. Like nothing that ever came easy to you feels great. Do you know what I mean? I think that like, the fact that some people, regardless of how much of like a foodie you are, how much you love eating food, because I think the majority of people love eating nice food. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We do, don't we?
Hell yeah.
Like lovely food is lovely, so we enjoy eating it. But like some people will embrace the struggle. They'll go on a dedicated regime, diet, weight loss program, all the rest of it, and they'll really take pride in peeling off the pounds and getting in the shape of their lives. And there is a real pride in that. I can't say, with all honesty, that I would feel the same level of respect for somebody that got in shape from injecting themselves with Ozempic. If somebody was historically out of shape and a bit of a tubster, I bumped into them and I was like, you look fucking amazing, man. Or mate, like whatever, guy or gal. And I was like, you look fucking amazing. And they were like, yeah, man, I ditched the booze, I ditched the smoking, I've been in the gym, I've been going running, I've been, working out with weights, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I'd be like, fair shout, and that is like respect right there. Because like we all can appreciate like the struggle that goes into that. Because it's like dedication mixed with hard work, and that's respectable, isn't it? I can't say I'd feel the same if it was like, you look great. Oh yeah, I've just been injecting myself with Ozempic for the last 6 months. I'd be like, oh. That was a bit weird.
I think you've got to always be so wary of stuff like that as well, because like it's gonna. There must be effects that it has on your body. Like,
it destroys your muscle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so just that in itself is 100% of a reason just to say no. It might be a quick fix, but it's also going to be a quick bodge. It's going to be a quick, it's not a fix. It's going to be a quick, the opposite of a fix. You know what I mean? Like, you might be getting some desired results from it, but you're also I think with like most things where you concentrate something down to like a chemical, or you concentrate it down to a thing where it's not. Say like I don't know, even like vitamin C in that. I'd much rather like have a real lush.
Get it from some blueberries.
Yeah,
or an orange.
Get
like, it in a pill.
And the way that
supplements should be that
with your body is going to be different to if you just take the concentrated chemical form of it. I think you know.
I think always have the backbone be your food. Supplements should be just that. Supplements. They're supplementing your diet. They're not taking the place of your diet. If you want to take something that you feel like you've got a gap in, maybe in your nutrition, something that maybe could be causing you to become maybe a bit malnourished, but you're finding it for whatever reason hard to get that into your day-to-day diet, then yeah, sure, take a supplement of it. But I think to outright just be like, well, do you know what? I don't want to put in any effort to actually lose weight. I don't want to do what most people do and actually like stop eating McDonald's and chocolate all the time and go to the gym. So I'm actually just going to inject myself with Ozempic and then try and get the same rewards as the people that do that. I find it hard to almost get on board with that. Yeah,
like I said, I'm sort of conflicted with it too, in terms of I would never do it myself.
No.
For all the reasons you listed. I think, like you say, you should embrace struggle. You should always be, I don't know, there needs to be challenges in life, and if there's not, you're not living.
Exactly.
You're growing or learning as well.
But at the same time, if there is someone that admittedly doesn't embrace those challenges, and that could be the difference between them, let's say, getting to see their grandkids be born or something like that. For that, it is a positive reason. So
that's exactly the same the reason that I said. That's the area of confliction I have. Yeah, because other than that, then it's just pretty much I find it hard not to think of it more negatively. Yeah. But I do appreciate that, and I do think it's good. If it can make people live longer, then that is good. But I just think there are other ways to go about that would be more beneficial to them. And if I'm being honest, and I think if other people were being honest, more admirable. Yes. More admirable ways. Yeah,
I'd agree.
It's like, it's hard. It's like, for a lot of people, it's hard to get in shape, but it's like, but then it makes the even sweeter if you do, So it's like, and as we were saying, like nothing worth having or nothing good in life, comes free or comes without, some element of cost, some element of work, hardship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just, we've spoken a lot today about nature. And I think to be natural is something that you should strive for.
100%.
So
it's almost like I put it in the same category almost as like Ozempic in the same categories as like Botox and like steroids. It's like unnatural ways that people are like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I think like I would rather be myself and even people not even, you know what I mean? And not, and do you know what I mean? Like not even be considered whatever.
I feel sorry for people that do it.
Maximise my own self.
Yeah, but I feel sorry for people that feel that they have to do it because it just shows that they don't feel happy about themselves. Do you know what I mean? And like that's upsetting to me because
it is sad. I completely agree.
It looks worse, and it's a big signpost saying I don't like myself.
And it's like we were talking about this, Drew, recently, weren't we? It's almost like there's almost like a Botox epidemic in the UK, it seems, where there are like chicks younger than us now, and like girls that are like stunning naturally, and all of a sudden you'll see a picture of them, and they're like their lips are freaking mental, like two slugs on it, and I'm like, what are they doing to themselves? And the fact that they're paying money to do that, to essentially make themselves look worse, but they obviously are they think that that's making themselves look better. Like, don't get me wrong, right? You can do whatever the hell you want with your own body, right? So if you want to take steroids, fine. You want to take Ozempic, fine. You want to Botox, fine. But I still think it's like, personally to me, I think it's a bit sad and a bit mental, like crazy. Right, we'll leave it there then.
And on that bombshell,
stay away from the Ozempic, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, the amount I haven't ever spoken to anyone that got into exercise or started sorting out their diet that weren't really glad that they did it and ended up like really enjoying the struggle of it and actually like embracing it and realizing that you get so many happy hormones in your system from doing it and the feel good of like suddenly, improving your diet,
seeing the progress as well.
Yeah, seeing the progress, feeling the happy hormones. Like, it's such a good, like, healthy way to do it. And you're going to carry on, maintain more muscle mass and stuff, which is going to make you look better at a lower body weight. Otherwise, you'll look like a weird flesh suit. When you see like people that have been like, real fat, but then they've lost loads of weight, but they're still real skinny, and they look like they're in a flesh suit, and it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Bit saggy.
It's like putting a puzzle together, isn't it? Working out. It's like the joy is in the struggle. The joy is in not knowing where the pieces go, because when you finally do get all those pieces put in place, you're like, you know what? I worked for this. If you were to just watch a video of someone else doing that puzzle, and your mind numbingly like, this goes there.
I wonder if people do that.
There's no joy in that.
Watching someone do it. I'm going to see if there's any on YouTube. Watching someone.
That's right. We'll leave it there, folks. Thanks very much for joining in with us this week. You've been listening to Pandora's Box, which are broadcast on AW Radio every Monday at 9 p.m. You can also follow us on Spotify and YouTube and Instagram. Whether you've been listening for a while or if you're a new time listener, we love you. We appreciate you. Please go and give us a follow and a subscribe on all of our platforms. Like, comment, all of that stuff, and you will forever become a friend of the pod. Until next time, au revoir, as the French would say.